Hello, everyone. This is Stronghold Podcast, Episode 9. I'm here with Alvin Ung. Alvin, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man. Hey, Luke. What's up?
How are you doing?
Oh, man. It's so surreal to be here.
It's weird, right?
It's so weird.
Listening to yourself, seeing yourself.
Yeah. It's so professional.
We just came from the UFC last night, UFC in Singapore. We are both there. I'm a little hungover. You can probably hear it in my voice. The camera can probably see it in my face. So I'm struggling here, but luckily, hair of the dog. The cure for any hangover is, of course,
IPA.
more alcohol.
Yes.
I don't recommend that to the people listening, but hey, it is what
Can't
it is.
get hungover if you're permanently drunk.
So, man, what did you think about the fights?
Fuck yeah, it was so good. I only came after during the main card. So, yeah, it was good. Wow, I thought Askren was gonna win.
Yeah, me and Major picked Askren to win. Almost everybody I thought that I talked to that Askren was going to win. But I think now, there's all this shit talk started hard on Askren since the fight. Everybody's like, 0-3. Because that first fight with Robbie Lawler was kind of bullshit too. And then he got fucked up by Masvidal. And then the fight with Damian Maia didn't go his way. But, yeah, I mean, it's all of a sudden Askren was the hottest prospect. I mean, if you think about the trade, right? The UFC traded
Mighty Mouse.
They traded Mighty Mouse for him. And then all of a sudden, if you consider that Robbie Lawler fight and the sort of controversy behind it, and then everything else since, maybe not the best trade because you could have had the Cejudo rematch. Yeah. Now Cejudo is triple champ. If you imagine like the marketability of that fight, I mean, I feel like Askren pulled his weight because he's a shit talker. He pulls in the eyes. For a wrestler, it's quite uncommon. Mm-hmm. So I feel like he's kind of pulling his end in terms of promotional material, but his record is looking a little rough.
Wow, I don't know, man. I'm still a supporter of Askren, so I felt like the Jorge Masvidal flying knee it's not a fluke, but it's like, man, it happens, it happens in fighting. So, the first fight with Robbie, who knows, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I would like to see.
Did you think that fight? Did you think? Slipping on me here. Did you think that fight was stopped early? The Askren Lawler fight.
Robbie didn't tap, man. If you didn't tap, then yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was an early stoppage too, but it's tricky, right? Because you see, for those of you that are listening that don't know, Robbie Lawler fought Ben Askren in his first fight in the UFC, and it was this weird thing where he had him in we call it bulldog choke or a bully choke, where you it's that old school grade school choke where someone puts you in a headlock, right next to your hip, and they start squeezing. The thing about that is, it is a choke, and you actually can choke people out with it. But like a lot of times in that situation, you're taught to relax when you're in one of those deep chokes. Yep. And so the referee, Herb Dean, picked up Robbie Lawler's arm, and he dropped it, and then his arm kind of went down. To be fair to Herb, universally, when you lift up the arm, that's the cue for the referee to see if you're awake or not. Yeah. And if you let your arm fall, you kind of give them no choice but to stop the fight.
Dude, that fight was so weird, man. I sympathize with Herb because, he looked like he was out.
On him.
Yep. And if you saw Ben Askren on Instagram, he was doing the thing where he was like squishing watermelons, like 2 watermelons in his hands. So his isometric strength is out of the world, right? So, yeah, I don't know, man. I just thought he's just had bad luck, I think.
Who? Askren?
Askren, yeah.
They definitely gave him tough matches.
Fights. Yeah,
they didn't give him any easy fights. I mean, he went from Lawler to...
I don't think Dana likes him.
Well, I mean, he talks so much shit. I mean, that's clear. He was talking shit way back in the day, back when he signed with ONE.
Right.
But if you look, I mean, Mighty Mouse has gone to ONE. He's doing work. He just won the Flyweight Grand Prix.
Yeah, I love Mighty Mouse.
Undefeated. And even his loss to... That's fucking weird. Because even his loss to Cejudo was razor close.
Right.
I mean...
Who do you think win?
I'd have to watch it again. At the time, I thought Cejudo won. But it's one of those things like... it's a bit like the Santos-John Jones fight. Right? Like, when the dominant champion even slightly starts to get hit and stuff, it makes it seem like they're losing more than they are just because they've been so dominant.
Yeah, it's so weird. I watched it 3 times, actually, on Fight Pass. I thought Cejudo won. But there was this one moment in the fight. In the first round, if you remember, Mighty Mouse leg kicks Cejudo, and he starts like limping, and his ankles are going weird. And I think Mighty Mouse tried to finish the fight. Like he was too aggressive, and he gave up the takedowns, the inside trip. Yeah. So that's what I think. I want to see that fight again.
Yeah, I know, but now you can't. And the thing is, right, even that inside trip, everybody made a big deal about his wrestling. But, I mean, if you go back and you watch that fight, I mean, Cejudo never controlled him on top for more than a few seconds.
Yes.
He popped right back up.
There's no damage on the ground.
And, I mean, it seems significant because it was the most competitive fight, and Mighty Mouse has been so dominant that it's like I don't know why the fuck am I doing this or is it sliding out? Anyway, I don't know why the fuck. Like, think about Floyd Mayweather, right? If anyone hits him at all, it's like, oh, it's so mind blowing. If he gets hit once, he automatically loses the round,
Right.
just because no one ever touches him. So it's so dominant. It's the same thing I think with when Santos fought John Jones.
I agree.
Like, some people were like, Santos won that fight. I'm like, he didn't land
No, he didn't.
He didn't land a clean strike.
Yeah.
Like, the whole time. I mean, it was competitive, and he was a dog, and he was firing back. But it's just like, John Jones is so dominant that when it even looks tough, your instinct is just to like score that way more heavily.
Yes. Everybody thought Jones was just gonna roll over Santos, right? I thought the same way. So yeah, when it's a competitive fight, it's like with Gustafsson and Jones, but it's not even that close, right? So yeah, I agree with you, man. But yeah. So Askren, rear naked choke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in a kind of a compromised state when I watched this, so I don't remember much of what happened. I was pretty drunk. I had only bought 2 beers the whole night, so I thought like I was pretty good, but people kept sticking them in my face the whole night.
Yeah.
I just finished this one, and then one would appear over my shoulder, and then I'm like, oh, okay, and then I drank that one, and then one pops up over here, and I'm like, okay, cool, I'll just have that one. And then by the end of it, I couldn't even fucking walk straight. I just came passed out and fucking blacked out afterward, and then I tried to wake up this morning and watch it again to just see what happened. I just remember the striking being pretty fucking awkward. And,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and then leading to the finish. But also, I was with all the Brazilians.
Yeah.
They all somehow found me. I don't know how. I'm sitting there with Major watching the fights, and it's just like me and Major, and then his wife and my wife, and then a couple of the other guys from the gym. And then all of a sudden, one of the Brazilians pops up right next to me, and then he's chatting with me, and then another one, and they're fucking, they come in flocks.
Yeah.
It's never just like one, but then 5 more show up,
Yeah.
and then I hear, porra! And they just start screaming in Portuguese as the fight's going on, and I'm partly entertained by what's going on behind me, and then I'm also trying to watch the fight, and then they're talking to me about jiu-jitsu and shit, and I'm just like, and I'm drunk, so my attention's going all over the place. I barely even got to comprehend what I was seeing.
Yeah.
But I just know that, like, I knew that for Maya to win, he had to get on top of Askren, because there's no way. If Askren's on top, okay, he can maybe grind him out, hump his leg a little bit, get a decision.
That's why
but
I
if
thought
Maya got on top, there's no way his submission defense or his guard is good enough to get
Right.
Maya off of him many times.
Yeah, that's why I thought Askren was gonna win, man, because I knew Askren was gonna take him down, very likely, right? And I knew it's very unlikely that Maya would submit Askren off his back. So, but he swept him and he choked him out, man. Holy shit! I owe everybody supper now.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I owe like 3-4 guys supper. So.
Other people betting on Maya and you're betting on Askren?
Yeah. I'm like, fuck no, Askren's gonna win it. Damn. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, so I'm still happy, but.
Well, it was weird, right? Because Damian Maya came in here to train for the fight, and so I saw him training, and I saw him getting taken down in training. So I kind of, and by people that aren't Ben Askren. Right. So I knew that in training, and at the fight, he was going to take down. But he's really good, and he was doing this in training about when people would take him down, he's immediately elevating with butterfly hooks.
Yes.
So it's very hard. You can take him down, but when you get him down, he's not the BJJ guy who will just relax on his back.
Yeah.
As soon as you put him down, he's elevating you immediately to try to sweep.
Yeah.
He's not just being like, okay, now we're doing jiu-jitsu, and just laying on his back. As soon as the momentum of the takedown is driving him to the mat, he's using that momentum to start to elevate with his butterfly hooks, and he was sweeping a lot of people right off the takedown, which ended up leading that was the transition where he got the back.
Yeah.
Askren took him down. I think he's single-legged, and then he grabbed behind the neck, and he sort of ran the pipe to take him down. And then Maya immediately was elevating with the butterfly hook before they got settled,
right away,
and then somehow transitioned to his back and got the choke.
Yeah, it was Marcelo Garcia, straight away, like a ball, boom. I think it was a butterfly sweep or half butterfly or something.
I think you're right. I think it was a butterfly sweep too. But yeah, it's wild. All of the Brazilians were just losing their shit.
Yeah.
They were like, jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu. And I'm kind of losing my shit too, right? Because it was fucking cool. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
I was a wrestler first, but I got a soft spot in my heart for Damian Maya for sure.
Yeah, shit. He's like a jiu-jitsu hero, man.
Yeah.
It's like the Superman of jiu-jitsu. He's a captain jiu-jitsu. He's like 41 years old.
41.
Choking out all these motherfuckers.
By the way, he looks fucking great. I saw him face to face. First of all, he's huge. Second of all, I have more gray hair than he does, and I'm 30. I don't know what this dude's doing, but he looked good. Yeah, just Asahi all day. He just looked great, and I mean, he got that rear naked choke. It looked like it was one arm.
Yeah.
It looked like it was one arm, and he put him to sleep with one arm.
Yeah, he did this thing where I didn't even think it was tight. Like, I was watching it with my man Gary and Ashwin. So he pulled on his head with his left hand and shot it through with the same hand, and he choked him. It didn't even look like John Danaher, like tight, but he fell asleep.
Because I think Askren was fighting the second hand.
Yeah.
I think he had a grip 2-on-1 on the second hand, which usually will be enough to block the choke.
Yeah.
But if he got the Damian Maya squeeze,
Yeah, no,
there's
man.
no
Even when he
guarantee.
got a body triangle, Askren's body was like that was fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only guy I've seen do that a lot in MMA was Shinya Aoki.
The body triangle?
Yeah, he does that shit, and the guy's body's just like fuck. It's like contorted and shit.
And he does the reverse body triangle, which is like, so there's two ways you can body triangle, right? If I body triangle you, generally, for the listeners, if I'm on your back, you would have what's called the seat belt,
Yeah.
which is one arm over the shoulder, and that's the choking arm, and then you have one arm under the armpit, and that's the control arm.
Yeah.
And then generally they teach you to put both your hooks, your legs, in between the thighs. If you go with the body triangle, you drape your leg all the way across the belly, and then you lock the triangle
Classic
behind your
jiu-jitsu.
knee.
Yeah.
But what he does is he always goes opposite the choking arm. So he'll, if I want to lay on the choking arm. So if my right arm is over your shoulder, when I'm on the back, I want to be laying on my right arm.
Right.
And generally, your foot will be facing the same direction as your hand, right? So the body triangle is going the same direction as the choking arm. He'll switch it so that way it's going the same direction as the control arm.
Yeah.
So he can switch his body triangle back and forth, and he'll go opposite the choking arm, so you're in danger no matter which side you go to, which is a really interesting way to kind of handle it.
A lot of new school jiu-jitsu guys are doing this now, man. They fall on the control side, not the choking side. So
And then the body triangle's on the opposite side.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
very hard to move.
yeah. So a lot of things. It used to be when like this is the correct side to fall on. Like the choking side is correct side to fall on, but now it's like you're screwed both sides. So now the back is such a strong position. I think a lot of it comes from the Danaher system. Like everybody's so much more. Like 10 years ago, the back position was like double underhooks on the back. You remember that shit?
Yeah.
Like back in the day, in like ADCC, we watched all that because they grip the lapels, right? So now it's so dangerous, man. I have guys I train with at Highlight Reel or at Impact. If they take your back, that's it, man. Shout out to Oz. Shout out to Oz, man. Take your back, that's it. He choked me like 5 times in 3 minutes. It's unstoppable. It's not even like brute strength. It's just like grip, counter, finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole metagame there now
Yeah,
for the
shit.
backfighting.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, too, that the game has changed so much. And it's one of those things that you really start to realize that the IBJJF rules are starting to become just antiquated. Because we were talking to the gym last night. I think ADCC has the best rules now.
Right.
We have some white belts. We'll kind of segue into talking about your competition because you're organizing the Singapore BJJ
Yes,
Open.
I am.
And so Stronghold's been open for 5 months and this is going to be the first tournament that we've gone to.
Sweet.
Which is fucking cool, right?
Yeah, super
but it's a lot of white belts because we just opened up. And then, I have some old students, some purple belts and brown belts and stuff that are also here. But mostly the new people that are going to compete, white belts. So I'm going over the rules with them, and I'm trying to explain what a sweep is and all that shit.
Yeah.
And some of these rules are fucking dumb. Like, for example, even Jake McKenzie used to tell me this. Like, he thinks that if you get the body triangle from the back, it should be an extra point. So that should be a 5 point.
So like 2 hooks in 4 points and body triangle 4 points.
Extra point. Extra point. One extra point.
Okay.
Which I think is moot because it's for sure tighter. It's definitely one level more advanced than the 2 hooks. Because if I have the 2 hooks in, for example, I can't pummel with both hands to choke you.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's still enough room for you to move your hips.
Right.
If I have an over-under and I have a seat belt and both of my hooks are in, then I'm threatening your neck. If I go both over with just the classic back 2 feet inside, 2 hooks in, then you can start to spin.
Yep.
But if I have the body triangle on, I can definitely put 2 arms over top of your shoulder to
Glute.
start to hand fight you, and the body triangle will lock you into position.
Yeah.
So it allows me to get a double threat for the choke, and then because the body triangle is just so much tighter, it's hard to spin out compared to their
Don't
traditional
get any
hooks.
points for the body triangle.
Don't get anything.
BJJF 0.
Zero.
Get 0. Yeah.
Which is crazy. And in fact, even if you take the back and you go straight to the body triangle, you don't even get the back points.
Yeah.
Because only the 2 hooks in
Get an
is what
advantage
gets
or
you,
Yeah.
which is fucking crazy. And then another stupid one is like, is like if I'm in the bottom side control and I just bridge you over and I get on top, that's no points.
Yeah.
Because I didn't pass the guard.
Yeah.
And sweep requires to have some form of guard.
Right.
Which is fucking stupid. It's a
But you
complete
end up in the same
reversal.
position anyway.
Yeah, but it's a
Yeah.
complete reversal.
Yeah.
Like the scale of dominance just shifted completely, like 180. You
Yep.
score no points for that,
Yep.
which is fucking crazy. If I pass your guard right off a takedown, I don't get any points for that
Yeah.
because I didn't pass your guard because you didn't have a guard.
Yeah.
But what? If
Yeah.
I take you down and I go into your close guard, or if I take you down and I go into your side control, I don't get any points for that? Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah,
that's
Major and I
crazy.
used to have like major discussions about this over some beers. So I feel a bit of deja vu. But yeah, I get what you mean. The thing is, IBJJF is so cemented in not just the local scene, but universally, right? If you like the world champion is IBJJF champion, right? So it's gonna be hard to change the meta game, you know. But yeah, I like the ADCC rule set. But the thing is, this is what the business of IBJJF is in. They're into making regular people feel badass. This is what I think. It's easy to pull guard and like attack submissions and attack sweeps, but it's hard to fucking wrestle, man. And that's what you gotta do in ADCC.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, they have the best rule set because they have the clean takedown,
Mhm.
right? The clean takedown is if I take you down immediately past your guard, that's worth more points,
Yeah.
right?
4 points, yeah.
Which it should be the case. There's reversals,
Mhm.
which should also be the case, right? Like,
Yeah.
again, same example. I'm in bottom side control. I bridge you over, get top side control.
Yeah.
That's a reversal. I mean, the fact that they don't have reversals scored as points is fucking insane. Like, how is that not? You can just add that now.
Mhm.
Like, that's not mind blower. Like, you don't have to. They just put so much emphasis on the guard,
Yeah.
which
I
is
agree.
cool. I mean, it's important, but it's not all there is. You can still do stuff without the guard.
This is coming from a guy that competed IBJJF his whole life. Like I started competing at 17 years old, IBJJF. So I think it allows you to play very deeply into a game that doesn't. Don't get me wrong, I love it. Like I started off doing it, and I still think it's very viable. It's better than doing like karate point fighting, for example, right? But I think that there is room for improvement. When I first made the transition to MMA, I had so much trouble in just like playing the guard, for example, especially in the gi.
Like MMA guard, right?
Yeah, it's so different, man.
Then BJJ guard.
Yeah, so like all your De La Hiva, all your Berimbolo, that's like 70% of that is out the window. So yeah, even just that. And the whole meta is different as well. It's like basically when I was competing in white and blue belt, I would just pull guard. Basically, if I pull guard and you can't pass, I win. There's no other way for you to beat me, right?
Yeah.
Aside from an advantage, like a near pass. If I pull guard, I have all the submissions available. You don't have shit because you're not allowed to like heel hook, right? And
And if you fall back for a leg,
2 points.
yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's 2 points if I get up. So if I pull guard and you can't pass, I win automatically.
That's why everybody pulls guard. It's just
Yeah.
so much more advantageous for that scoring system.
Yeah, so like my guard got good, but like my takedowns can't single leg for shit. And yeah. Not knocking on IBJJF. I still think it's viable. I still think it's good. My tournament is run on IBJJF rules, but I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna change it. But if you want to do MMA, I should train some ADCC rules, bro.
Yeah. Well, I'm not opposed to. I don't think they need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
But I think something like reversal points is just
Yeah,
obvious. I
yeah.
mean, that's just obvious, right? Like, Jesus Christ, what are we doing? Reversal points have to be a thing. Like, every point doesn't have to come from the guard.
Yeah.
You know, there are reversals that you can do where you're not in the guard. I mean, for example, even something as simple as like, let's say I'm on the bottom turtle, right? Bottom turtle is a weak position. Someone's
Right.
could potentially transition to your back.
Yeah.
And some people can, threaten guillotine, darce, collar choke, any number of crucifix if you're
Yeah.
major students or something, right?
Yeah.
Because they all have that rolling crucifix from the top
it's a tight
position.
crucifix, man.
And something as simple as like wrestlers do this all the time, right? There's a whole system of moves designed to go from bottom turtle to top.
Yep.
Right. For example, peeking out,
Yeah.
reshooting, where you just you thread your leg through, you come back and you get the top front
Peeking
headlock.
out, yep.
That is such a dominant switch.
Yeah.
You're basically going from being on the bottom where somebody can spin to take your back or threaten you with guillotine to being in the same position with them. Like, that's top to bottom.
Yeah.
That's top to bottom.
Yeah.
It's the same concept, right? I'm going from an inferior position on the bottom, and even according to like IBJJF scoring, that's kind of based on your ability to strike. I mean, listen, if somebody's sprawled on top of you, they can strike you to the side of the head, they can elbow you, they can threaten you. If it's one, they can knee you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
that's
that is a
a game
fucking
changer.
weak position.
Yes.
If you can go from being bottom turtle to top, I mean, Jesus Christ, that's as dominant a switch as anything. Like,
In
and then
one
not to
FC
mention you can threaten the back. I mean, you can
Yeah.
knee the fucking head.
Yeah. Pride. Like headlock position and cradle position is a killer in 1FC. It's better than mount, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about if a guy gets mount? So like I pass you right away at mount and you bridge over and I end up in close guard. Do you think the guy should get 2 points?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between an escape and a reversal,
Yep.
in my opinion, right? Like a reversal is like that, right? The one I just described. I go bottom side control. I bridge you off. I get top side control.
Yeah.
I go bottom turtle and I get on top in the sprawl position, right? Those are dominant. Those are reversals. If you mount me and I bridge you off, that's an escape.
Yeah.
escape not the same thing as reversal.
I agree with you on this because I don't think you should get points after being mounted.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like some of my students thought that was a sweep, and I have to explain, no, that's not a sweep. That's an escape.
Yeah.
You're obligated to escape. There's no offense from
Yep,
that.
I agree.
That's just recovery.
It's like giving points for escaping like back mount. Like you shouldn't be in the position in the first place.
One thing I think could be interesting, and this is what they do in wrestling, is the only escape point that they allow is going from being on your back or being on the bottom to standing up clean break.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind that because what it would do is it would incentivize, first of all, the bottom person to also stand up,
Right.
not just play guard.
Right.
If I stand up and I get away, because
Huge
that's martial arts.
Yep.
That's martial arts. I don't care what your jiu-jitsu academy or your Muay Thai academy tells you. If you go in for self-defense and they tell you to play fucking guard off your back with somebody on top of you, play to like in close guard. Oh, you're just going to play guard when you're what? Getting elbowed and punched in the fucking head?
By 10 other people.
The number one thing you need to do is get away, stand up, and go get help.
Yeah.
So the martial arts code should value that very highly. Someone's on top of you. How do you safely get up, break contact, and get away?
Yeah.
So like that's huge. If they incentivize that, not only would it incentivize the bottom person also standing up, but it would also make the top person have to keep you down, which is a whole other part of gi jiu-jitsu that sucks.
Yeah.
Because it's like we slap hands, we fist bump, I play top, you play bottom, and then that's it.
You're obliged to play that
You're
position,
obliged to
right?
play. Yeah, you can just go there. But I don't have to do that. Like you see the MMA, UFC, like just keeping people down becomes the whole game. Like freestyle riding.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that should be the only escape point. So you get 1 point if you clean break because it benefits both sides, and then you should get reversal points for reversal switches with no guard in, right?
Yo, Luke, when I was just starting on MMA, like I said, when I was 19 years old, I was making the transition from gi jiu-jitsu, just got my blue belt, to MMA. That was hard, man. Like, just standing up was hard. Just keeping people down was hard, right? Just riding them and hitting them in the face. Yeah, so for sure, I think you should get points for standing up, but I don't think they'll ever do it.
Because jiu-jitsu, the god, poha, the quad. Dude, but it's martial arts.
Yeah.
And you think
No
standing
offense,
up,
but
you think standing up if somebody on top of you is not a dominant exchange, like, man. And then because the weakest part of like jiu-jitsu specific stuff is that the bottom person just lays there. They only try to sweep you. That's the weakest part about it because, bro, if I get my elbow on the mat and I frame you, good luck holding me down.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just going to sit back and just chill. Like, if you take me down and then the minute I'm posting, I'm on my elbow.
Liddell style.
And then you have to, like, break me down and control me. Like, that's the whole game.
Yeah.
So I think that they need to incentivize that. Just those little rule changes. They don't even have to change. They just have to add.
To incentivize that, right? They're not going to do it, though.
No, but that should be the fucking rules, man. That should be the fucking rules, man.
Have you competed under the ADCC rule set before?
Yeah, I've competed under all the rules, man. Yeah.
I think I'll do that next year. I heard Grapple Asia is going to host a big one in Singapore next year. It's like qualifiers. I'm going to do that shit. Yeah.
As long as, the only thing I love watching it, but for amateur at least, is like slamming out of submissions.
Oh, fuck me.
I mean, I like it at the high level.
Yeah.
Like ADCC, the real one, I think you should be able to do it. But like local ADCC, you can't fucking slam people out of a triangle.
Got knocked
and
the
give them
fuck
brain
out.
damage.
Got knocked the fuck out by that once in the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like 18 years old. Triangle some dude just powerbombed me. Fuck.
Yeah. My wife has a story. I've told it on the podcast before. I made a joke one time, right?
Yeah.
Charmaine, my wife, had another girl, Joey, that trains at the gym. She had her in a triangle. And then, but Joey's only been training for like 6 months. So I was trying to make a joke. And I was like, Joey, slam her. I said it like with that tone.
Shit.
And she was like, okay, cool. Fucking power bombed her. And then
Yeah.
I was like afraid Charmaine had a concussion. She had to fucking puke afterward. I was like, oh, God. She didn't know I wasn't joking.
And she
And
got
then-
like ceiling high.
it wasn't quite like it wasn't Rampage Arona style. It was kind of like holding slightly at the chest, but I mean still a good few feet off the
You
ground.
gotta tuck your fucking neck, man.
It was a problem, and then I was like, "Fuck, not the time to make a joke."
Yeah. Oh shit.
Sometimes
this was in this gym.
That was in this gym.
Oh,
that was like
fuck me,
that was like a
man.
month ago or 2 months ago or
shit.
something.
Yeah. Oh fuck.
Yeah, that wasn't one of my proudest moments as a coach.
The only 2 times I've got knocked the fuck out was in jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Slam.
Both off takedowns. So I think takedowns are like the most like dangerous and volatile of all things.
Falling body weight.
Yeah, falling body weight
is the most
I
dangerous.
think John Danaher said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, falling body weight. Yeah, and I agree with him, man.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Yeah, shit, dude. Yeah, I've got knocked the fuck out and just doing just like a warm up where you do like takedowns. So I was going with this judo black belt and I got thrown on my head with a shoulder throw, and I just completely like teleported. Like I had no recollection of what happened. I thought I was eating supper with my friend. Like I'm talking to you now, and like boom, I'm in the gym in my gi. I'm like,
And people are shaking your legs, and you're like, whoa.
what the fuck? Yeah, shit, man. Have you had that experience before?
I've never gotten knocked out in training. I've gotten choked out in training.
Oh, shit.
Which is kind of similar, but not nearly as violent. You don't get the headaches and stuff, but it's always weird, right? Because you think you're good. And at the higher levels, you never get choked out. Like, it's just an accident. You think you can escape when you can't. Like, so you feel like you're safe in a position, and then all of a sudden, you know, you glimpse up, and then there's like 10 people right in front of your face, and then people are shaking your legs, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? You have no idea what's happening. And then you quickly realize, and you're just like, oh,
when was this?
Shit. Oh, geez, I haven't been choked out in a long. Because I tap. I mean, I just don't fuck around with any of that stuff.
Yeah, tap too. I've never been choked out.
I've been tapped thousands of times. At this point, I have no ego about it. Like, I just tap. It was when I was a white belt. I got caught in a guillotine, and I was trying to go for the takedown at the same time. And then, like, I'm cut in the corner, and then all of a sudden, I wake up, and then I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yo, the only time I've gotten almost choked out was guillotine as well, major. Yeah, I just keep like a cool face, start gurgling, you know, and I tapped.
Yeah,
but,
that's
like,
major shit.
Yeah.
We talked about that in the last podcast.
Yeah, the lights went out. And like, shout out to Major overall, man. Holy fuck. This is not too long ago.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Not too
he
long
got me
ago?
like a mounted guillotine.
Oh.
It's a bit of a crank and then one tap.
Yeah.
But
Because you probably thought, that's a crank, I'm good. And then
Yeah, I'm like
all of a sudden.
Yeah, man, fuck. Yeah.
So let's talk about your tournament, man. Let's use this as an opportunity to segue a little bit to the SG BJJ Open.
Yeah.
So is this your first tournament that you've done? How many have they done? This is 4.
This is
right?
number 4. It's actually 5, but officially it's 4. Yeah, the first event was a pilot event and shit. Yeah, 4th event. Yeah.
So who are the organizers, and what made you guys want to do this? And
dude, like everybody thinks like I had a master game plan, and I started on a whim, man. It was like a whim. I just started like talking to this guy. Who I used to teach like beginners boxing at this gym. Yeah, so I was in university. I needed some spare money, so yeah, taught beginners boxing, and I just started talking, and hey, it'd be cool if you have all this mat space. It's like this mat space. It'd be cool if we ran like a jiu-jitsu tournament, man. Because I used to time keep and referee for a Grapple Asia, so I had know-how, and boom, the first event was a success, and I was like, whoa, let's make it happen, man. Yeah, it was awesome. It's quite surreal. I have like imposter syndrome sometimes. I'm just a blue belt. Yeah, so the last event, number 3. So I remember on like Gi Day, going to brief the audience, and I see like this sea of people, like their black belts, and I'm like, what the fuck? Holy shit, what did I get myself into? But yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool.
well, it's like that when you start anything new, that imposter syndrome. Hey, that's a real thing.
Yeah,
But I always got told the best advice I ever heard was fake it till you make it.
right.
Because like
Yeah.
everybody started from somewhere, and when you first start, you're kind of just winging it. I mean, even this podcast, right?
Yeah.
The first 3 that I did, I fucking cringed, bro, when I listened to myself talk.
I'm gonna cringe when I listen to myself.
I still cringe when I listen to myself. I'm like, oh, I didn't explain myself clearly.
Yeah.
I'm going to do better for the next one. And then I fucking show up hungover to this one. So clearly I'm
Yeah,
off
that
to a
happens,
terrible.
man.
I'm really learning the lessons of my previous podcasts, you know. But listen, man, you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah,
Even this,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's embarrassing, right? Like doing a podcast, if I don't articulate myself clearly,
Yep.
if I don't come across the way that I want to come across, like it just, but you have to just take those growing pains and continue on, and then you try to build it, right?
Yeah.
Even
I always
though-
get like, man, do I sound like that? Holy fuck. How could people date me?
It's weird. Yeah. It's weird when you hear yourself
Oh,
talk,
man.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's so
fucking
weird.
weird. Have you done a podcast before?
No, but I've been in several like advertisements in Singapore. It's like freelancing. I'm like, what the fuck? Do I look like that? Jesus.
Yeah.
Your eyes are small, bro.
Got Asian eyes, bro.
Yeah. Oh man.
When you go back and listen to this one, it'd definitely be a bit awkward.
Yeah. I'm gonna save it.
But-
Send it to friends and family. Yeah.
That's cool, man. So what's the plan? You gonna keep just doing these things as long as they're viable?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep running it. So I'm not making any money of it. I'm making like $0. So it's not like for charity, but every single cent we made, we just reinvested it back into the business to help it grow. So it's so cool, man. I'm so heartened by the support of the local community. It's been really crazy. So man, I love martial arts. So throughout this journey, I got to meet like so many cool people. I get to sit here and talk to you now, and I get to sit and talk with black belts and shit. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So I'm just very heartened. So in this 1.5 years that I ran this tournament, I've learned more than if I just had stayed in university and just continued my degree, you know. It's real learning. So yeah, I'm glad I did it. It was something off the bucket list.
yeah, well, there's something about the hands-on training
Yeah, for
that
sure.
just you learn in a way that you would never can learn in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Even me starting this podcast, like the first 4, that I did,
Yeah.
you know, when like 10 fucking people maybe listen to it and they're all my students. And I'm just like, why do you want to hear me talk more than they do anyway?
Yeah.
Because it's like most of the students that come in here and train, they hear me go fucking on and on and on about martial arts. And then the fact that they would want to listen to me continue on for hours uninterrupted, it's a little embarrassing, right? Especially if I don't come across the way that I want to. But now this is episode 9.
Yeah.
And so I know people are starting to listen a little bit. You know, I'm getting more and more views as time goes
That's
on.
awesome.
And people are coming to me and talking to me about, actually, it's made me, maybe we'll use this as an opportunity to segue into our next point. But it's made me rethink kind of my responsibility as a public sort of speaker.
Right. I
And
get
not
what you
many
mean.
people know who I am, but I am sort of,
I get what you mean.
my opinions are out there now, right?
Yeah.
They're not just like, if you and me sit here and talk, I can say whatever fucked up shit
Yeah,
I
we
want.
can just talk shit.
If you're cool, you'll probably be fine with it, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes out publicly, it's sort of a problem. And, you know, the podcast is also named after my company.
Right.
And so even though, which is a disclaimer, will lead me to my next point, which is, guys, everybody, as I continue to do more of these podcasts, let me make something clear. My views do not represent my company's views, okay?
Likewise.
Yes, exactly.
Likewise.
This is the Stronghold podcast, and
Yeah.
it's named after that for a little bit of brand synergy,
Yeah.
right? Because my gym is Stronghold, my
Mhm.
podcast is Stronghold. But, you know, my company, we're owned by 4 people. We have like 50 students. We have a bunch of kids. My other owners do not necessarily think the same way about everything that I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk about fucked up shit on here. I swear all the time. And I also teach 5-year-olds,
Yeah.
right? I don't talk like that when I'm around them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, if I have an opinion that I express on here, half the time it's just me talking shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's my serious opinion.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may not be able to tell which one is which.
Yeah,
And
man.
sometimes maybe I don't even know which one is which.
Yeah.
It's just that if I say something that people find offensive or whatever, it doesn't mean that my company believes the same thing. And I can't be held responsible. My company can't be held responsible for some things that I say because they may not necessarily be the same opinion.
100%. You gotta make disclaimers nowadays.
I
So
know.
yeah.
It's weird, right? I mean, I got in trouble. I'm not going to say who or exactly what, but people are starting to listen to the podcast and I'm getting in trouble for it, basically, is what's
Yeah.
going on.
It's PC culture, man.
I shared I don't know what exactly I can say. I shared something on Facebook,
Yeah.
and it kind of criticized a gym. And it criticized a gym. I just thought it was funny. I didn't even care about the criticism. I didn't even see the gym's name.
Yeah.
I just clicked share because it made me laugh.
Yeah.
And then I got a message from some people attached to that gym.
Oh,
They're
okay.
like, bro, you have a problem with us? You have a problem with our academy? And I'm like, I didn't even know what they were talking about. And then
Yeah.
people are asking me to like apologize and make retractions and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, I'm definitely not doing that. Like, that's not happening. I'm not, unless I feel it. Like, if I need to apologize for something, then I will.
Yeah.
But like, listen, you and I are about to say some critical stuff, I suspect, and we can critique things. We can critique events. We can critique certain people, or we can critique ideas that are not necessarily, that doesn't mean that we're critiquing the whole thing. For example,
100%.
I sometimes will critique Evolve or One or the UFC
Yeah.
or whatever. But listen, I watch every fucking one. I watch every UFC. I trained at Evolve. I know those guys. If I critique their instruction or if I critique a one event, or maybe we could talk about Angela Lee's suplex as well, right? Something like that. I
Yeah.
feel like that deserves critique. That's not me being like, one fucking sucks or any of that stuff. I'm just talking about the incident. And if people listening can't isolate the criticism of the event or the person or the idea that's not associated with the whole thing, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. It
We
takes
got to have a little
skill.
nuance here. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, you gotta be objective, man. Yeah. So what are we gonna talk about? That suplex though.
Let's start with that. Because this will illustrate the point that I'm trying to make, which is that we can criticize one particular thing
Yeah.
and one thing that maybe Chatri did
Yeah.
without being like one fucking sucks. So that's just not the case.
Yeah. First off, I love ONE FC. I love it. I started training in 2011. There wasn't no shit. There wasn't shit in Singapore. So I was a secondary school student. So I was like 16 years old. I was doing jiu-jitsu. It wasn't cool back in the day. Like, you know, even in Singapore, it wasn't cool. It was so like I was training jiu-jitsu. So I was posting shit on Facebook. So everybody was like, "What's that shit? Are you gay? You gay? You suck his dick?" It was really like that back in the day. Now it's so popular and like a huge part of it
So
has to
trendy.
do with ONE FC. It's so trendy now. There's so
Yeah.
much money in it.
Mhm.
Back in the day, there was like 5-6 gyms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was like Evolve, Impact, Juggernaut, Fight G, Impact with a K. That was about it.
Yeah.
Right? That was about it. There was like
Yep.
5 gyms. The BGSG. Okay, shout out to BGSG.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back in the day, it wasn't cool. And then I remember the first ONE FC came out, and this attention just started coming in. There was some money, and ONE FC is huge now, obviously. Like UFC just came to Asia for the third time. Sorry, to Singapore for the third time. So yeah, it's so trippy, man. Yeah.
So let's segue into the suplex.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about
right? Because this is again going to illustrate the point. Now, so for the listeners that don't know, Angela Lee is a huge star. She's the women's Adam. She's probably the #1 draw for ONE.
I like her.
Yeah, dude, if you don't like her, and you don't, both of the Lees, they get a lot of shit because of the evolved marketing. But if you don't respect their skill and their willingness to just get in there, like, they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. Like, Christian Lee's winning against Daggy. I did not pick Daggy to win that fight.
I did not pick that shit.
And I didn't pick Angela to win that rematch either.
Yeah, me too.
And they both had a lot to lose.
Right.
A lot. Like, embarrassing losses. But then there was a high probability that both of them lose that fight.
Yeah.
I mean, Angela lost the first fight.
Yep.
Daggy went through the whole tournament, fucked everybody up. And, you know, Christian's young, and he got some favorable matchups early on. And then, so they had a lot to lose, and they didn't give a fuck. They went in there, they put it on the line, they both won.
They won that shit. Yeah.
Now,
so impressive.
Going on to Angela, she won the fight, and the reason it's controversial is because the sequence that led to the finish, she won by rear naked choke, like in the last minute of the fight. And she did a belly to back suplex to Zhang Jingnan, which led to her taking the back and getting the finish.
Yeah.
Now, suplexes are illegal in ONE, according to Chatri. They've been illegal. And, you know, I saw an article that Angela Lee shared that said, oh, she didn't suplex her onto her head, so it wasn't illegal. First of all, that's bullshit. It's not where the person lands. It's the technique. The technique is what's illegal. Yeah. It's not like, oh, they land slightly here, because you cannot judge that. Like, as a referee, you can't be like in the moment, oh, he landed slightly on this part of the head and this part of the head. Or it was, you know, right here, not like right here. Yes. You can't expect the referee to make that distinction. The technique is what's illegal, not where you land. And I got you the official tweet, or the official Facebook share that Chatri released after one of his guys got disqualified after the fight was ruled a win. Yeah. And not only that, Christian Lee also lost a fight, was it a few months ago? 6 months ago, maybe?
Not that long ago.
For the same technique, exactly the same. I mean, the technique is, and he got disqualified in the fight. So this is what Chatri released, and I'm gonna just read the whole thing. Bear with me here, guys, if you already know this. But this is the CEO of ONE. And he said, "ONE, Iron Will was full of surprises, some of them good and some of them bad. First and foremost, congratulations to all the athletes, blah, 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 blah." Okay, bullshit. Unfortunately, I have to be the bearer of bad news. While I'm a big fan of let me get this name right, Kritsada Kongsurichai, I don't know, and his incredible athleticism, the fight against Robin Catalan has now been ruled a DQ. After careful video review of the fight under multiple angles, it has been deemed that an illegal suplex was utilized at ONE Championship. And here's the distinction. Listen to this from the CEO of ONE. At ONE Championship, all variations of suplexes are illegal, and any attempt or intent results in an automatic disqualification. Not exactly very shades of gray, right? Pretty fucking on the nose. Again, all variations of suplexes are illegal, and any attempt or intent results in an automatic disqualification. Yeah. It doesn't say, oh, if you land slightly on the side of your head. No. Any attempt leads to automatic disqualification. Yeah. Now, anybody look at me and tell me that was not a fucking suplex? Get out of here. Yeah, that was a suplex for sure. Number one, I don't think suplexes should be illegal in MMA. I also don't think they should be illegal. Number two, I sympathize with Chatri, man. It's just a sticky situation, so I don't think I would have reacted. I don't think I would have sympathy for that without having run my own event. But I've been in a few sticky situations like this, you know. Sometimes there's so many things to run that you end up eating your own words, you know. So I sympathize with that. Not only that, but he also deleted the comment. He deleted the post afterward. That same day. Oh shit. Yeah. 24 hours later, the post that I just read you, he deleted. Yeah. So what are you doing about the suplex thing, you know? Nothing. Because it's one of their people. Yeah. I mean, Christian Lee got disqualified for the same technique 6 months ago. Yeah. And then this technique, I think, was from a couple years ago or whatever, but it's obviously still the rule
Yeah.
because he just got disqualified for it.
They just introduced this rule, maybe like 2 years, within 2 years. I think it's a dumb rule, man. I don't know why they introduced that.
It's a dumb rule, but if you say that that's the rule, then that's got to be the
Yeah, you
rule.
gotta-
Otherwise,
yeah.
it's favoritism.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem like it's blowing up into a huge thing. So
No, because he's controlling the PR response.
yeah,
There's not the journalism, the global journalism that you get with the UFC or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Like it did blow up a little bit. People talked about it. Angela released her statement, and then it just died. But listen, that is bullshit. 100%.
I agree.
I think the technique should be legal, and I take nothing away from Angela. And if the referee didn't catch it, she should get the win, and then they should go back, rule it a no contest, run it back, according to their rules.
As an athlete, Angela did the right thing. You know, it was a heat of the moment. Boom, she did a technique, and she won. So I would like to see that match happen again, but on their side, I mean, I don't think they're gonna do it.
No, but you have to hold all the fighters accountable to the same rule sets.
Yeah, I agree.
Otherwise- I mean, because this person, now, here's the distinction, right? Because the person that I just mentioned, the thing that I read, that person won also. And then they went back later and then ruled it a disqualification. Not a no contest. They gave the win to the other person as a DQ.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is not even one of those things where, I don't think Angela's a dirty fighter. I think she just did it. But the Lees clearly trained suplexes. It's part of they both done it.
Yeah.
Literally, Christian just got disqualified for one within the last year.
Yeah.
And then Angela did this one.
He suplexed Boku. I remember that.
Yeah,
fight.
he
On his
suplexed
head,
Boku
knocked him
too.
out.
Yeah, that was that
Yeah.
was the transition. So listen, I'm not criticizing one as a whole company. I love what they're doing. They're bringing martial arts to Asia. It's good shit. But listen, they got to get consistent with this rule set because it's fucking cheating if you say that these are the rules.
I agree.
Even if it's a stupid rule, and then you.
I think you just fucking make suplexes legal, man. Maybe it's from an investor standpoint, which is why they changed their whole name from one fighting championship to one championship.
Yeah.
So maybe it looked like brutal or something like that. But man, suplexes have been around forever, man. It's quite safe.
How are they legal in wrestling?
Yeah,
Jiu-jitsu?
yeah.
They're legal in jiu-jitsu.
You can suplex somebody full on in IBJJF. It's
Yeah.
legal.
But
Yeah.
then MMA, they can't. You can fucking shin somebody in the head,
Yeah.
but you can't suplex.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. It's legal in every form of grappling, pretty much, unless you're like white belt, some exceptions or whatever. But
I think it's legal, man.
yeah, it is. IBJJF, it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they have rules too about like top of your head, for example. There are some suplexes.
I think you're not allowed to like power drive someone or
Yeah.
like pick somebody up, spin them around the mat, and walk around and drop them in the head.
I also think the belly to belly suplex is illegal in some
Oh, really?
where belly to belly, I get you in a body lock and I go over my
Oh
shoulder.
yeah, that's dangerous, man.
Those ones are illegal, and I think
Yeah.
that's fair. But
Yeah.
belly to back, like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's legal in every form of wrestling. That,
Yep.
that should be legal. If
Yep.
it's legal in grappling, wrestling, then it has to be legal in MMA.
Yeah, but who knows what's happening behind the scenes? You know, it's probably an investor kind of thing. It's my guess. All right. So, yeah, hopefully they legalize it. What do you think about the soccer kicks?
I don't have a problem with him, to be honest. I didn't have a problem with him in pride.
Major loves it.
I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of one. That's
Yeah,
for damn sure.
fuck that.
But I think you can go either way. You can, if you make it legal, you make it illegal. I don't have a problem with it. I don't. For example, I don't like the rule where if I put a hand on the ground, you can't knee me in the head.
Right.
I think knees to the head from that angle should be legal.
Are they taking away the rule now, though? Like the
No, they
new
just-
rules or something like that?
They're making it a bit more. Yeah, they're changing it a little bit. But
Yeah.
the one I do think, even though one does that's wrong, is knee in the top of the head. I don't like that
Yeah.
one because it's vertebrae.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
vertebrae.
Yeah.
So anything to the chin, to the side, I'm cool with. If you go straight down on the knee to the top of the head where you crush the vertebrae like that,
Yeah.
I worry about like spinal damage.
Yeah, it's hard
and
to
stuff
catch
like
though,
that.
especially when you get a guy in the front headlock, and like it's the heat of the moment, you just start throwing knees. You
Yeah.
know? I've seen people stop like that.
But
in one.
I mean, you could also push the head down, step off, and soccer kick.
That is true, but it's illegal now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know.
I think that's far more brutal.
It's
and-
such a dynamic technique, though, man.
Holy
it's a fucking
shit.
game changer.
yeah, it is 100%. No,
And I'm a fan of like anything that's a working technique.
yeah,
What's too brutal? Because the training modalities will switch, and then people will learn to defend it, and then
I'm on the fence about that.
me too.
Uh,
I'm saying this, and I'm like, well, maybe not.
I heard you and Major talk about left way, man. Let's talk a bit about that.
Sure.
Headbutts and shit. Yeah. So when I watch left way, I feel like I'm one of those like old boxing guys that hates MMA. You know, so that's too brutal, man. It's like human cockfighting. It's like they're doing headbutts and shit. I don't know. I'm not like a really big fan, but Major likes it. And what's your opinion on it?
Well, his theory is that kind of what I just said, that if you make them legal, that the training modalities will change, and then people will be able to defend it more, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
And to some extent, I think that's true. But I think that there's some unknowns with the brain-to-brain trauma, the head trauma that you get
for sure.
from headbutting. And then because, the only thing that I had an issue with what Major said was he was talking about how the training modalities will change. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, how do you train to headbutt?
Headbutting pads and shit.
Yeah, you headbutt like 1, 2, pop. Like, how do you? Okay, first of all, let's say you do that. How many headbutts can you throw before you fucking give yourself brain damage because you're slamming your head into a pad?
Subconcussive trauma, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if I take my head and I slam it a few times into a pad, 5 times, I'm gonna be like, where the fuck am I?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you train that? How do you train defending a headbutt without getting headbutted?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to pee. Yeah. Okay. So, all right, guys, we'll take a break here because actually I got to pee too. So we'll come back. We'll talk about some headbutting. We'll talk about maybe some questionable belts.
100%.
And then we'll be back soon. All right, everybody. Stronghold Podcast, episode 9. We'll see you soon.
Stronghold Podcast.
Hello, everyone. We are back with the Stronghold Podcast. Alvin damn near pissed his pants on the way to the toilet.
Yeah, well, it was a very close run thing.
Sorry for the abrupt segue, but it had to be done or he was going to piss his pants.
Yeah, I had 3 beers and 2 coffees.
Can't help it sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, man. So let's get to the good shit. This is why everybody's probably going to listen to our podcast. So let me just outline what's going on here. You made a Facebook post that kind of went viral within Singapore jiu-jitsu community, at the very least,
Yeah.
And your Facebook post was criticizing the UFC gym and one of their coaches who was as a brown belt, and you were questioning the guy's rank. And you did the post, and I don't know how many comments did you get on it.
I don't know, man. I got like 100 shares or something crazy like that. Okay.
Which in our community is a lot.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot in Singapore. So 100 shares in any context is a lot. All right.
Especially on Facebook.
Yeah.
But it wasn't only that. Someone also put it on Reddit.
Right.
And then did you do that or did someone else?
Yeah, I read it. No, I didn't do that. Somebody else put that. But I read that shit.
That went kind of viral for RBGJ as well.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing got kickstarted again.
Yeah.
And then so it kind of went, within our community viral twice. Mm-hmm. And then actually the Reddit thread was really interesting because I didn't know this. Yeah. And this, I think, illustrates the point that you were trying to make even more, is that there were other threads about this guy before you ever posted on Facebook.
Yep.
Your shit kind of went viral and it caught fire the most, but there were previous posts about this guy going back even before you said anything. Yeah,
months ago, man. So here's the story. So this guy first got exposed in a BJJ community group. So everybody already knew about him.
Is this the one Major was talking about?
Yeah. So there's this like Facebook group called BJJ Community Singapore or something. It's like a small group. It's like 100 to 200 people. Yeah. So usually we post about things like seminars or like competitions and things like that, right? So I first came to our attention maybe like 2 or 3 months ago. Like some guy was masquerading to be a brown belt. People were getting pissed. I didn't really get involved in the matter because other people settled it. So we kind of let him off the hook, right? So we thought the matter was like forgive and forget, So we didn't bring it up. It was all in a private group, and people texted him. Should I say some names? So like Harold texted him, and like Sulaiman texted him apparently, and
people that actually have clout in the community.
Yeah, like black belts and like Harold's a brown belt, and so we thought he was like apologetic. So we literally have messages from him saying like, oh, sorry, I'm going to stop doing this shit right now. And like everybody just kind of forgot about it. And then one day in the morning I woke up.
It was to the point where he stopped wearing the belt, right?
Yeah, he was like wearing a white belt.
Yeah, which you can see photos of online.
Yeah. So one day I woke up and so I run SGBJJO, right? So there were people in the groups just sending me shit. I just
sorry.
No problem, man. I just woke up on the wrong side.
Could I have it again? Okay, maybe not. I'm good.
I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed and I saw this shit and I got so pissed.
There it is. Okay, go on.
So I made that post, man, and it is what it is.
You made the post, and without going into crazy details, what did the post say?
Can't remember the post, but it's like hey, this guy's not a real brown belt. It's a scammer and da. And first off, I made the post not to criticize UFC gym. I was actually really trying to help them. I wasn't trying to be sarcastic on anything. But this guy is, to me, not a real brown belt at all. So I'm going to live and die by that. So Yeah, he's not a brown belt. He's not a blue belt. He's like a white belt, 0 stripe. And he should be a white belt, 0 stripe. And yeah, I don't care how somebody tries to twist words or how many certificates you get. I can get a certificate saying I have a big dick, but I don't have a big dick, you know? Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, ladies. And yeah, so the truth is the truth. So
Okay, so let me give that story a little bit of breadth on top of what you just said. So first of all, I think a lot of the criticism, at least from the UFC gym standpoint, was you calling him a fake brown belt. And I talked about this in the podcast with Major, is I think that the conversation has shifted a bit about what does it mean to be a fake brown belt? Well, it can mean two things. The first thing is that he's wearing a belt that no one gave him. And then the second thing is that his skills are not brown belt level.
yeah.
And I kind of investigated this story, I guess for lack of a better word. Through one of my contacts in the community, I was able to get in contact with both of the coaches who signed off on his cert. And, I sent them a message, but they're Brazilian and their English is pretty
He sent them something in Portuguese.
pretty
or something.
rough.
Yeah.
No, they responded back in English, but, maybe they did Google Translate or something, and
Yeah.
it was just a disaster. I couldn't understand a
Yeah.
fucking word of it.
Oh, man.
But one of my business partners speaks Portuguese.
Ah, cool.
So I sent him their information, and I asked him to respond to him in Portuguese and then have him tell me, like, okay, first of all, not only did they give it to him, but what were the requirements for him to get it? And I got back some pretty suspect shit. So the first thing is, it does seem that the brown belt or the black belts who signed off on his cert legitimately gave him the cert. So one question, just to give the guy credit, is that he seems like he did not lie. He did not forge a document. The Brazilians that he said signed off on his cert actually signed off on his cert.
Are they black belts? Are
They
they
are black
jiu-jitsu
belts.
black belts?
They're black belts, and they are legit, but there are some caveats here. There were some pretty weird responses from the Brazilians, and one of them was that they first of all, they said a couple weird things. The first thing was that they gave him the brown belt, but then they said, and I told them, I was like, listen, it's created some controversy in Singapore. And then, I called you one of my students just for the sake of the argument. And I said, one of the students, the guy I know, is threatened to being sued.
Yeah.
Cease and desist.
Yeah.
I'm trying to expose
More
this
than
guy.
a cease and desist. So.
Yeah. And I was like, so this is actually becoming quite a problem. That legal issues might be taken because people are calling this guy out.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know exactly what was going on. And then the first thing he said was, when he promoted him, when he graded him to the brown belt, his skills were okay. But if his skills have deteriorated since then, it's not his fault. Now, first of all, bullshit.
Yeah.
Because if you're a brown belt skill level, that shit doesn't go away. You can give me a legitimate brown belt. They can not train for 10 fucking years, and they still will have the muscle memory in their body to do the techniques right. 100%. Their timing might be off, but they will still not look like a fucking white belt. That's not how skills work.
Yeah.
You can be, imagine being a fucking an artist, right? Maybe you draw, and you're a black belt at drawing or a brown belt at drawing. You're a really good drawer, right?
Yeah.
Or a piano player or guitar player. You take 10 years off, I guarantee you can still crush the shit out of that guitar.
100%.
You can
You've
still play
never
that
become
piano.
that level.
You're gonna hit an odd note here and there, right? If you're drawing, you might hit a stroke with your pen that you normally wouldn't do, but that thing is still gonna look good.
You won't be sharp, but you'll still be you know?
Yeah.
Your
skill
belt.
level will be apparent.
Yeah.
So that was one. Now, the next two things that the guy who signed off on his belt said made it even more suspicious, because he goes, okay, I did grade him as a brown belt, but that I did not grade him as an instructor, and I didn't grade him as a competitor.
How did he grade him though?
Yeah, exactly. And then my response was, so what
How?
the fuck did you grade him for? If he's a brown belt and you're saying, but he's not qualified to teach and he's not a competitor, then what?
Number one, he cannot do a forward roll. He can't shrimp. It's not about fucking brown belt, man.
Yeah.
It's not a blue belt.
And I watched some of the techniques videos, and I mean, you want to know just guilt by action. He deleted all of his technique videos. The ones that you can still see are not good. There's a video of him, you can still see it. It's on the Reddit page of him teaching like a knee bar, where he kind of rolls into a knee bar. He doesn't even know how to apply force opposite the joint.
Yeah.
I mean, this is basic shit.
At this point, I'm not even mad. I feel like just sorry for the people that hired him, and they just got taken in, you know? So, yeah. I don't understand, man. If you want to put so much effort into paying money for a brown belt and all that kind of shit, you just join a gym and just get it in a few years. You know what I'm saying? I really don't understand. So, why anybody will fake their credentials allegedly.
I have an even more interesting piece of information too.
Oh shit!
that I just got. And now I gave word that I wouldn't say who this person is, but let's just say I'll tell you after.
Okay.
I think I may have told you already, but I got information from one of the coach that knows him and seen him train, and that there's pictures of them together. And the guy told me that he wasn't even a blue belt. And this is one of the coaches that saw him train.
Yeah.
This is one of the black belts.
Saying the truth.
So now I also agree. Major also agreed. I know that my hair commented in those comments. I know that there are other high-quality people, legit people. I have not met a single person in Singapore that's a purple belt at least who can vouch for. And if this is a brown belt, he should at least be able to beat some low-level purple belts. And I have not met a single person who can vouch for this guy's quality. And every instructor who I trust, whether they saw him train or saw his technique videos, all say that this guy's skills are not there.
Right. Look, there's no way you can be a brown belt in Singapore without somebody knowing that you're a brown belt, without rolling with some people. Look, the community is small. Yeah. There's just no way you can be a brown belt in Singapore without people knowing you're a brown belt. So it is what it is. And I stand by my roots. So.
Yeah, I stand by your reaction too, which is why, we didn't really know each other much before this whole thing happened. And then I just kind of sent you a message when I heard about this, and I was like, bro, tell me about this story. This is fucking juicy. I want to hear the details.
Yeah.
And then you and I started to chat, and then and the reason I took your side immediately is because I can see. I saw the videos. I saw the technique videos. Mm-hmm. And I just know that that's horse shit.
Yeah.
And anybody with any real experience can see that too. And then this brings us to the next point. Let me make a disclaimer first. Listen, to the people that train at the UFC gym, even in your thread, right? There's a lot of the white belts at the UFC gym who are like, it's not bullshit. He's legit. Okay.
Oh, man.
Okay, so first thing, it seems like his brown belt is real. In other words, meaning that someone signed off on it. That does not mean that his skills are there, and I can tell you they're not. They're not. Okay, 100%. So if you're a white belt and you're training at the UFC gym, there are legitimate black belts there. There are legitimate jiu-jitsu instructors there. And in fact, this guy was not even a jiu-jitsu coach.
Yeah,
so
that's what I heard.
The real coaches there, they are qualified. Mm-hmm. The black belts that teach there are legitimate, and they know their shit. So I'm not saying that they don't have other qualified instructors, but this guy should not be wearing that rank. He did not earn it. And I think my suspicion is that he paid somebody to come in, rank him, and then that was it.
That's what I think as well.
I'm going to say allegedly, based on my experience.
I'm going to say allegedly a lot right here.
And then I'll go further to say the people that are training Muay Thai under him, he's not also a qualified Muay Thai coach. I'm just going to go there and say it. Yes. I saw him holding pads. And that is not what a high-level pad holder can do. So I'm going to go even further. Okay, well, we can change the narrative. It was brown belt or whatever. He shouldn't be teaching Muay Thai.
Yeah, look, I'm not trying
and Major agrees too. He said it straight up on the last podcast.
Yeah.
He said the same thing.
Look, we're not trying to block anybody's way of earning money, But, okay, look, what does it say about you as a person if you allegedly buy a fake belt to masquerade as somebody you're not? And should you be held in a position of power where you get to coach other people and you get to be put in charge of kids and women and people who are new to the sport? You're in a lot of power. So there have been things that happened in Singapore before. I don't know if you want to bring that up. I
can't. I'm too controversial. This is what I got told. I'm not supposed to talk about certain things anymore.
Yeah, so
my podcast is rubbing people the wrong way, apparently.
This happens all the time, both in Singapore and overseas. So I'm not trying to police. I'm not trying to be a dick. Like, I'm not getting any money out of calling people out. I'm not getting attention and like what? Do I like getting sued? No, fuck that. But somebody has to say something, Otherwise, people are gonna get hurt. Women are gonna get hurt. Children are gonna hurt. Newcomers to the sport are gonna think the sport is like a fucked up sport, which it isn't. So somebody has to say something.
And there's also value associated with the skills that these people are going in to learn.
Yeah.
Whatever the UFC gym's fees are, I don't know what they are, but you expect with that name a certain. First of all, let's make a couple points. One, that let's say whatever their fees are, right?
Yeah.
you think that going in, you pay this per month, you're getting quality instruction.
Mm-hmm.
While I know that there is quality instruction there, for example, I know one of the Muay Thai coaches. He used to work for me. Ismail is one of the Muay Thai coaches there. He trained with Krunoi, who's my coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I know he's a good coach. He's a really nice guy. He worked for me at Trifecta.
Okay.
So I know for a fact that he's good.
Yeah.
Two of the black belts that are working there, I know they're qualified.
Okay.
Black
belts.
I know that they're qualified.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying all you UFC Gym Singapore people that your gym sucks or that they're talking shit. No, we're not. We're not talking about the company as a whole. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about this individual incident in this particular
100%.
guy. And to extend beyond that, I am going to say something a little bit more controversial, which is to get to just because the gym is called UFC Gym does not mean that it's the highest caliber training. All you have to do is pay to license that name and then meet their criteria, and then you can be a UFC gym. They had other gyms in the U.S. that were UFC gyms where they also had fake belts that were exposed, fake black belts.
Yeah, I read about that.
You can look it up online.
Mm-hmm.
So just because you put UFC gym in your name, if you're a new person, if you're a white belt, does not mean that the quality is there necessarily. Mm-hmm. There's also UFC gyms that are run by Frankie Edgar.
Right.
And there's also high quality UFC gyms. But listen, there's hundreds leased across the world. All you have to do is pay for the name and then meet their standards and conditions, and you can be a UFC gym.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in the brand, man. So number one, I love you, UFC. But that post wasn't to insinuate against the whole gym, so people kind of took it that way. I think it opened a can of worms. But yeah, it's to say that it's not a brown belt, man. It's not brown belt skill level. So he shouldn't be teaching if he is teaching. Shouldn't even be wearing that belt. So I stand by that. And I'll show you some love, UFC gym. And hope this matter gets resolved.
Yeah, and I think that they should look into his Muay Thai credentials too.
Yeah, I think
that's
they should.
what he is paid to do. And if they want to pay a pad holder, okay, he can kind of hold pads. Like he knows how to hit back, and he kind of knows what he's doing. But those are not skills.
You can get somebody better for the same pay. Mm-hmm.
So listen, I don't care. That is what it is. I'm glad that we're able to talk because I wanted to get your opinion. Because you were getting one more thing before we get involved. First of all, again, not to criticize the UFC gym in particular, but there are elements of it that deserve criticism, and their response to you deserves criticism. And fuck that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say what they told you with what you feel like. Just the post the public thing, not the internal shit. But just
look, I was in Bali, so this whole matter just blew over already. Yeah, so everybody kind of forgot about it, and I got
except me, I keep bringing it up every fucking week. I'm making it worse. I'm not helping at all.
So I got a message from the official UFC gym company Facebook. Like, hey Alvin, you're gonna get a lawyer's letter. First off, I already knew I was gonna get a lawyer's letter because I met with the owner, and I had a talk with him. I really enjoyed that talk actually. I had a 2-hour talk with him.
2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours. 2 hours, the length of this podcast. So had a good talk. Thought he was a nice guy. And he told me midway through, like, hey man, we're gonna send you a cease and desist letter. Like, just take the post down. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'll take the post down. No offense, Sorry, it caused so much trouble, but this guy isn't da 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 da. So so it was weird that I got the message in public. It was just like.
Well, what did their message say? It was not. It was a fucking disaster.
Yeah,
it was the bitchiest fucking.
Yeah, it was pure nightmare, man.
Facebook response I've ever seen.
Yeah. So, hey Alvin, you're gonna get a lawyer's letter from us. So I was just like, yeah, like. Your boss told me I'm gonna get a lawyer's letter. Yeah, I know. And like let's see if you'll still be laughing after that.
Yeah, you put LOL.
Yeah, I put
like
LOL.
I know. I already spoke to your boss.
I was
LOL.
on a plane to Bali, bro. I was just chilling.
Yeah, and then they're so the first they're like, hey, you need to quit talking about this, blah 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 blah, and you're gonna hear from our lawyer. And then you were like, I know, I already talked to the owner of your company, LOL. And then they go, oh, you're laughing soon, you won't be, or you're laughing now, you won't be laughing soon.
Still laughing now, bitch.
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
And that is just, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So again, this is me clearly saying that there are elements of the UFC gym that are of quality, but whoever put that fucking Facebook post on is a bitch. That is bitch stuff.
Wow.
Like, what?
Hey.
Are you so catty? Are you so bitchy in a fucking public Facebook post that you're going to be like, oh, you're laughing now, you won't be laughing soon?
Yeah,
really?
wow.
Listen to the community. This is not just you. Listen to the entire jiu-jitsu community in Singapore that's saying that this dude's skills don't pay the bills. Listen to Major, who owns a fucking gym in Singapore, who's a one championship fighter.
Been training for 15 years.
Yeah, me. I've been training for 15 years. I said it in the last podcast. The collective training in that post would have been hundreds of years of martial arts
exactly.
training. And the UFC gym's like, fuck you, talk to our lawyer.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, you're in this community. Listen to the community when they speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like, listen to them. These are the people that are going to be paying your bills. These are the students that you need. When they all collectively agree that they need to find somebody else or they need to speak to this guy about his quality, you shouldn't make shitty posts like that. You should listen. This is the community that you're now a part of.
100%, I agree. And yeah, it's that I don't know who's managing the Facebook account. He probably shouldn't be doing that. Yeah.
I mean, that's
I wouldn't let him run my Facebook account. So yeah, that's a nightmare, man. So to the owner, I love you, man. You seem like a nice guy. You can get better guys. Okay, here's a proposition. I can run UFC Gym Singapore Facebook account for free for 3 months. I'll do it for free. I'll reverse all the damage done, man. I'll do it for free. I'll do it for free for 3 months. And yeah. So I think he's a nice guy, man. I just think the management isn't up to standards, you know.
Well, I have a student, and this, like, you know, he was my student for years.
Yeah.
I said his name on the last podcast. I'm not going to say it again. But, you know, he's a purple belt for me now, but he was a blue belt with me like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, I know who he is.
I mean, he's like brown belt level. He's wearing a purple belt now, but he was a blue belt for 6 or 7 years. Like, fucking legend, this guy. Really good. And he told me, the first thing he said was that the management there is shit. Now, I'm not saying this. This
Allegedly.
is not my allegations. I don't know. I've never been there personally.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you what a student of mine who trained there for 7 months told me. The first thing he said was that the management is shit.
Yeah.
Because they brought in people who are not in the community. They're not from the community. They don't know how to manage an MMA gym in Singapore. They don't know the market. They don't know what the needs are of the people. And then he could see that there's a clear disconnect. The instruction quality, this guy excluded, they have good instructors. But he said the number one thing he wanted to tell me was that there was a disconnect between the management and the staff. And they don't know how to deal with the staff, and they aren't part of this community. And you can see that with a poor hire. And it just seems like a weird move to me that the whole community can collectively agree that this guy's skills aren't there. And how good is this guy that you're going to go to bat for him so hard?
Yeah.
Like, to get shitty with you and to inflame the whole community over this guy?
Yeah.
That's the guy you want to bet your business on.
Yeah.
Because I know that they're struggling with this PR. I know that this has been a problem for them. This is the guy you're going to go to bat for.
Is your girlfriend or something?
Yeah, it's like, what did this guy do, man? What did this guy do that you're going to go to bat for him so hard?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if I got an instructor here at Stronghold and I released a technique video and then the whole community was like, what the fuck is this shit? I probably would not get mad at the whole community. I'd be like, maybe I've made a terrible mistake.
Yeah.
Now, it's not that instructor's fault. It's my fault as a gym owner for hiring this guy. But if I can't distinguish what's quality and what's not, that's what the problem here is. The people that hired him don't know what they're looking at, because all of us do. So when we see it, we can clearly see that technique doesn't live up to it. But the people that interviewed him be like, oh, brown belt, oh, signed off, okay, cool, yeah, come on for us, man. Oh, I teach Muay Thai too? Yeah, great, no problem.
Boom,
without
boom.
watching him hold pads, without watching him and seeing.
They don't know, man.
They can't distinguish the quality from the shit.
100%. Look, I have one quote. You can quote me on this. If you're a white belt, shut the fuck up. Oh, man. You don't know what you don't know, man.
Maybe I should label the episode that.
If you're a white belt, shut the fuck up.
All love to white belts. Listen, I don't.
I love you, white belts. But like, hey, like, we've both been doing this for a long time, you know. Like, you can see when somebody shadow boxes for a minute, whether it's real or not, you know. So I wasn't being sarcastic when I said, if you need any help, hit me up. I'll do it for free. Just drop me a text like, hey, man, is this guy legit? Like, you can tell, right? So yeah, it's such a shame because I have nothing against the gym. I think it's a great thing that...
Here's one thing I will say. Their facilities are fucking excellent.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Bro,
Holy shit,
their
a cage.
facilities are fucking excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, the location is good. Like I told the owner, I have nothing against the gym. Like, I think it's great. I think a rising tide lifts all boats, all ships. So, yeah, I think it's amazing. I started off when, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, there was only 5 fucking gyms in Singapore that does MMA. And now there's like 20, right? Holy shit. It's so trendy now. And like, man, I'm just glad that I can be part of this whole thing. It's so cool. But man, if there's anything you need help with, just drop me a text. I'm not being
Yeah.
sarcastic, man.
But with the rise of all these MMA gyms, you're also going to have the rise of the quality is going to start to go over and under and over and under.
Does it necessarily have to, though?
It
You just
doesn't
need to
have
have the right people, man.
Which is why you need to listen to the community.
Yeah, exactly.
And which is why gyms need talent scouts.
Why are you so butthurt, bro?
But the gyms need to have talent scouts, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't expect, I mean, whoever hired some people, right? Like, okay, let's say you're shopping around for an instructor, you're a gym owner.
Yeah.
And if I'm expected to be the person to hire coaches and I don't know what a good coach is because I'm not within the community,
Mm-hmm.
but someone's like, oh, bro, I'm a black belt, I'm a brown belt.
Yeah.
You just know that, like, oh, he's a brown belt. Brown belts can be instructors, right? If they're of the general quality, like they can be instructors, especially beginner classes, no problem.
Yeah.
You know, you see a guy, maybe this guy had a few students on the side, he was teaching them PTs, and then, you know, he had videos of himself online holding pads, and you look at it and you're like, oh, you know, he knows how to hold the pads and stuff.
Yeah, he can't tell, though.
You can't tell.
Yeah.
You can't tell, but the community can. So to have that response when the whole community is collectively trying to give you the hint
That says a lot, man.
says a lot.
I was surprised.
Yeah, me too.
I was
I
surprised.
think that they're trying to get better because I know that they've hired some new coaches recently.
Yeah.
And then I know that some of the coaches that they've hired recently are more qualified.
Yeah.
So I don't know what their response is. And I heard that they're opening up a second location, which to me is, I'm split on it because one, I think you can learn lessons from this. And my hope would be that they have learned lessons and then have better quality.
Mm-hmm.
But then two is like maybe they haven't learned their lesson and they're still making money.
Time
and
will
they're
tell.
Time will tell. But, you know, again, just to reiterate the point, UFC gym, we're not talking shit about you. We're talking about this person.
Yeah.
And the same thing with you. Like, you don't have an issue with them or with, even with this guy, I don't have an issue with this guy
Yeah, per se.
personally.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth about the skill set needs to come out.
Yeah, I haven't even met him before.
Threatening to sue you for fucking exposing this information is ridiculous.
I did get a letter, though.
Oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like,
Yeah,
the whole nature of martial arts is the feedback loop.
right.
Your skills get better and better, and someone gives you advice, and someone gives you advice, and you make micro corrections, and you make micro corrections. That's the nature of our business and
That's why
business
getting
in
tapped is-
general. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's, oh, I need to improve this.
yeah.
And if you can't listen to the collective wisdom of all of the Singapore martial arts scene, then you're going in the face of the entire principles that martial arts are built on, which is the
100%.
feedback loop.
Yeah,
And threatening to sue somebody who exposes something that's not pleasant to you is fucking ridiculous.
yeah. I'm glad. One thing I must say, though, I'm so heartened by the support of the community. So I never did expect something like that to go viral. I'm not an attention whore or anything, but yeah. So it goes to show there's a thriving community in Singapore that's willing to protect its own, you know. So we'll see how it goes. Once again, nothing against them. Hopefully they improve. And but I stand by my words. This guy's not a brown belt.
Yeah, well, I stand with you. I agree
He's
with
not
you.
a blue belt.
Which is, well, I'm not going to speculate as to what his rank is because don't know him personally, but I can tell you what I saw was just not.
Yeah, skill-wise. No matter what the cert says, you know. Skill-wise. The cert can say I can beat Joseph Schooling in swimming, but I can't even tread water. So,
Yeah.
so hey, look. So it's not like we're not trying to be elitist right here, yeah? So I'm a blue belt. I've been blue belt for like 4 or 5 years. I bled for this shit, man. Like, I dislocated both my shoulders. I spent thousands of dollars for this shit, you know. Competed all over just to get a blue belt, just to learn, just to grow in this amazing journey. You can't just do that, man. It's not right. I'm sure you have some stories to tell getting a brown belt.
Well, it's just, one of the things I talked about in the last podcast that I think is going to be sort of a problem to deal with in the future, and that's this sort of thing where you bring in instructors to give you belts.
Mm-hmm.
Because I talked a little bit about open source jiu-jitsu, and, you know, we're an open source jiu-jitsu gym. We're
Mhm.
part of the Jiu-Jitsu Brotherhood. There are other ones I talked about on the last podcast, like Globetrotters.
Yeah.
You know, they set up these academies all across the world because, you know, let's say maybe you're in Myanmar or maybe you're in China or you're in one of these places. You can't get a black belt. There's no local black belts. Okay, so how do you go up your ranks? Maybe people get together in a small community and train. That's how I started.
Mm-hmm.
I was a wrestler. I'd wrestled for like 2 years. I'm 16 years old. My instructor's a blue belt, right? Because back then,
Back in the
in
day, a blue belt was a
2005,
god.
in 2005,
Yeah.
when I started training, There were no black belts in West Virginia. Like a fucking purple belt was like a wizard.
Yeah.
Like that person was just a fucking magician.
When I started back in the day, blue belt was a god, man. There was like there was like 3 blue belts in the gym.
Yeah.
And we were like, that's a blue belt. Shit.
So when I started, the blue belt was like, that was the teacher.
Yeah.
Because there was no one else. So what do? Well, you call people, you try to get seminars, you try to bring people in to promote you. And, you try to get a Brazilian if you were lucky, but maybe the guy was 3 states away.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sort of how jiu-jitsu developed. And there's something to be said for that. Because, like I said, in my case, I've been doing this for 15 years. And then because my instructors moved away, they moved to U.S., they moved to Brazil, whatever the case is, I'm stuck at 4-stripe brown belt. And I've been a brown belt for 6 years. And I've been a full-time instructor for 7, because I was also an instructor as purple belt. And so sort of the idea of open source jiu-jitsu is made for people like me. I gave a story in my last podcast about Ali, who I had on episode 3. His instructor was a 20-year brown belt.
Mm-hmm.
20 years as a brown belt.
Yeah, listen to that in that podcast. Yeah.
I mean, this guy just slipped through the cracks.
Yeah.
And I have a real sympathy for the jiu-jitsu people that slip through the cracks.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
It happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I can name at least 5 students off the top of my head. Shane, one of my blue belts, he was a white belt. He started with me, I think, at the first trifecta. So this would have been 2014, maybe like that. 15, something like that. Was a white belt. Went through all his promotions, came and trained all the time. I left for a year. I came back. I saw him win the C grappling. He won his division and he won the absolute. Crushed everybody. Mm-hmm. Went to Evolve, trained. Was training this whole time. Didn't even get a stripe.
Didn't guys get it?
He was like a 4 or 5 year white belt. Who competed, who trained all the time. Went to Evolve for a year.
That's weird.
Not shitting on Evolve, but he went there for a year and didn't get a single stripe.
Okay.
Misha, 6 year blue belt. He trained the whole time. Like, I have 2 other students, Anon and Deborah, another student who trains with me. When I left, I promoted them like before I left Trifecta and went to Malaysia. I came back, and then it was like a year and a half, and they were still training consistently, and they didn't even get a single stripe. I mean, at that rate, they're going to be a fucking blue belt or a white belt for 10 goddamn years.
I know some 10-year white belts, 10-year blue belts.
I mean, if you stop training and you come back, okay. Yeah. Or if you train like 1 month, you sign up, then, there are times where that's appropriate.
Yes.
But like, Jesus Christ, some of these people, like, what do you got to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in a situation now where I feel it, and it's like, kind of, what do you got to do? And it makes you feel like you're doing something wrong. Like, it makes you feel like, what do I need to do to get the instructor's attention, to improve my technique? One of the things that drives me crazy about most Brazilian instructors is that they never want to talk about the belt.
It's just a traditional thing, man.
Yeah, it's a traditional thing, and it drives me crazy. Because, first of all, most of the people that train, at least with us, they're adults. Like, my students, they're fucking adults. 25, 30, 40 years old. And if they want to ask me, what do I need to do to get my blue belt? Or something like that. Am I supposed to be like, no, you don't talk about this. This is sacred. What? It's like, motherfucker, you're older than me. I can't have an open conversation with you about, hey, you need to work on your hip escapes. Hey, you need to come once or twice more a week. Hey, you keep getting caught in arm bars, man. Hey, you don't know how to recover the guard. Like, if I can't give you a blueprint to get your next rank, it's my fault as an instructor. And so this idea that the promotion is sacred, like, I should be able to clearly outline what you need to do to get... Bro, you come once a week. If you come once a week, it's going to take a while. Whatever, right? Bro, you don't know how to fucking get out of an armbar. You keep doing the same shit. Come in early, drill that shit 10 minutes before class for 3 times a week, and we're good. Like, there has to be an objective measurement for what you do to get your belt. And if people don't get promoted in their training, it just seems like they're just doing something wrong. And that will make people quit training.
Right. I agree that you need to have a open communication, man, all the time. Yeah, but still, it's like BJJ is so like informal, right? The grading system, which I like.
I like to.
Yeah. It's not like you do a certain kata, like you can shrimp, you can forward roll, okay, you're a blue belt. But it's totally up to the instructor. So yeah, I agree that you need to have an open communication with your instructor. You gotta have that bond with your instructor, man. If you don't have that thing going on, if you don't like it, you should think about training elsewhere. Yeah.
And going back to my point about the open source thing, I think you're going to have a rise of quality differentials as jiu-jitsu gets more and more popular. More and more people do it. People want to take the easy path. People want to pay for belts. People want to do, because, if I got money, it's like, this is kind of notorious in China. They always say the Chinese black belt is a blue belt. That's
Really?
the joke. That's the joke, right?
Oh shit! I
Oh,
didn't
you
know
know,
that.
he's a Chinese black belt. What's that? A blue belt. You know?
Oh fuck!
This
Are you
is kind of
serious?
like the joke that people
Oh,
say,
wow.
and it's because a lot of them, and I've heard similar stories from high-level Brazilians or high-level black belts, where they told me that if you go to Abu Dhabi or the UAE, they have money. They pay these people.
They have money,
and they will pay to basically get promoted, and so you'll get some black belts there who are like blue belt level.
Wow,
And
sucks.
that's what happens in China too.
Yeah.
So I mean, imagine if you're a Chinese rich as fuck person and you fall in love with martial arts and you want to open up your own gym. You can even call it UFC gym if you got the money, right?
If you
And then
franchise that shit.
And then you get in contact with the Brazilian who lives in a fucking favela, who's a black belt, and then you can pay them whatever you can pay them, which to them might be huge amounts of money. I'm speculating, but you can imagine, right? I'm not too far off here with the possibility of this happening. And then, you pay them whatever you pay them, and then they're in a desperate situation, so they kind of just sign a check on some integrity, and then boom.
Yeah, man.
They're probably not going to do it for a black belt, but they might do it for a purple belt. They'll for sure do it for a blue belt. Might do it for a brown belt.
Oh, for sure. Blue belt for sure.
Yeah. Black belt, that's tough. It'd be hard to get a lot of guys to give that away. But I don't doubt that it's happened.
Apparently not for brown belts.
Yeah. The line's got to be drawn somewhere. I would think that that's about it. That's probably the line.
Wow. I didn't know about this China thing, man.
Yeah, Chinese black belt is a
Shit.
is a blue belt.
Fucking hell. Yeah, I'm a fucking blue belt, so I don't know how much my opinion counts on this thing, but I think we should keep like a strict like hierarchy in belts, like it has to be earned. Otherwise, you become like karate or like taekwondo, Yeah, we're like if you say you're like a taekwondo black belt now, people just like, like yeah. My 18-year-old cousin's a taekwondo black belt, It doesn't have that aura of mystique anymore. Back then, if you were blue belt or purple belt, you knew you could kick ass. Like, this guy's badass. If it's a purple belt, he's badass, So I think we should keep that shit.
The meritocracy is the most beautiful part of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, 100%.
Because people give their blood, their sweat, their tears.
Yeah,
I've
man.
cried after training.
I have to.
I mean, I've literally like fucking been like, why am I so dumb? Like, whatever. I can't believe I caught that shit again.
Especially in
it's fucking
training camp.
embarrassing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens, right? Yeah, training camp in particular.
Yeah, fuck.
Because the stress and all that kind of stuff, like, grown ass man crying like a bitch because you got tapped out in training. Like,
I was crying in the MRT, man. I was like, fuck.
dude, it happens, and you're like, why am I doing this? I fucking suck. I should just go home.
Yeah,
And then so
man.
when people come in and they reap the benefits without feeling that suffering, that's why the community comes out so hard.
It's not just about vengeance, though. It's not just like, oh, I bled for this shit, so you should bleed for this shit too. But it's like, if you're a black belt, like a brown belt, or even like whatever, like an instructor, you have a position of power in the gym, right? And I heard you talk about this, maybe in the first, was it with Chris? You talked about this, right? So I listened to that shit. And I agree with you, man. Like, it's so weird
with
here.
Chris and Josh Robinson, I think.
Yeah. Like an instructor has almost like a cultish kind of power in the gym, yeah? So, man, if you...
And absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yes.
It's very hard to resist the urge to
dip
your toes into the women, the whatever that comes with the perks of
respect.
being the alpha of the alphas, right? If
Yeah.
you're the coach at an MMA gym, the currency is kicking ass.
Yep.
And if you're the best at kicking ass, there's going to be some temptations that come your
you're
way
the top dog, man.
that are going to be tough to avoid if you're not of sound
Yeah.
mind,
Yeah. Fuck. So, imagine if you were like not a real black belt, not like a real instructor, like how much worse that would be. I'm sure you remember the Lloyd Irvin scandal and things like this. It happens, man. We're not making shit up. This shit happens all the fucking time.
And it's not just jiu-jitsu. It's with anything of that sort.
Yeah.
Oh, let me give you some other really popular adages and tell me if you've ever heard of it. Oh, I don't know. The personal trainer, the sleeps around with the wives. Oh, I don't know. The yoga
It's
instructor.
like a cliche, right?
Was Bikram.
Bikram.
I mean,
yeah.
the yoga instructor, the
Yeah.
personal trainer. I mean, dude, the list can go on and on and on and on. So it's not just particular to this, but those are the people that come in. Again, the currency is kicking ass. And if you come in and there's the best at kicking ass of all of the ass kickers, you think that person is not going to have some power that they can abuse? I mean, come on. What are we doing? If you don't
Lot
believe
of
that,
power.
you're fucking naive.
Especially when it comes to like kids.
Kids,
Yeah.
women.
Women. Yeah, especially if you're new, man. Because when you're new, you're in like a new culture. You don't know what to expect, so you look to like other people, and like all these other people are like looking up to this coach. You're like, oh, this coach is like the god. Yeah, fuck. It gets weird sometimes.
Major and I were talking. I hope I'm not putting him out by saying this, but it's something we both observed, right? So I'll say myself, and he tended to agree with me, is that, and this is these power dynamics at play, right? So if you go to a jiu-jitsu gym, first of all, you'll almost always see a jiu-jitsu coach eventually sleeping around with a student. I mean, find me one where it hasn't happened, and I'll find you a really fucking good instructor. Like, you know, like that person is somebody you should keep around you.
Yeah.
Because they have patience, they're kind, and they have their shit together. So now, having said that, Major and I both observed this phenomenon, which is, let's say the coach is married, or the coach is not available, that oftentimes the girls or the guys or whoever it is, right, they go down the pecking order. Because, you know, sometimes the ladies that come to the gym will try the coach. Maybe they give them a little flirt or whatever. And then who's next? The senpai.
Right.
They're next, and pretty soon the brown belt's dating a student or whatever, right? And then maybe something happens with them. They're dating another person in the gym. Oh, it's the purple belt, right? It's never the white belt. It's never the new person that the hot chick at the gym goes and dates.
Unless you're really hot or rich. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to fucking mansplain or be really controversial here. This is just shit that I've observed. And
Me
what
too.
it is it's the power dynamic.
Yeah.
And if you, and I'm not trying to put this off on women or the men, because in my opinion, it's the responsibility of whoever the instructors are or whoever the students are that are of that level to keep their personal shit out of the gym for the sake of the integrity of the gym that you train at. And it can go both ways. Sometimes it's the girls, sometimes it's the guys.
Look, man, I have a lot of sympathy for this shit, because if you're like a real competitor, like a real hardcore person that trains, you're in the gym all the fucking time, man. So you don't really have a social life. You don't really drink and things like this, you know. But I feel it. But personally, I don't date in the gym. I've seen it happen far too many times.
I'm not just talking out of my ass, right? You've seen this as well.
Yeah. I've seen it happen. Even if it's like a genuine like love relationship, you know, I try not to date in the gym. Like I actively encourage my friends and training partners not to do it, because it just gets weird, man. There's rarely a time where it ends well. Do you agree?
If they break up and then there's this issue in the
It just
gym,
gets fucking weird. The
and then
whole
you don't
thing's
know if
toxic.
you should say something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it just creates that fucking, especially in something, again, that's so physically, like, listen, we got to be on each other, right? Like, I got to be on top of you. You're going to mount me. There's a level of intimacy.
My sweat's dripping into your eyeballs and shit.
Bro, there's a level of intimacy that's just, you can't separate from jiu-jitsu. And so those power dynamics become even more magnified because of that.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Listen, I get in trouble for this, man. I didn't realize this, but before I started this podcast, I just thought, you know, anybody talks to me, I'm a reasonable guy. Like, I don't consider myself to be controversial, but ever since I started this fucking podcast, everybody is like, I get coaches telling me that they don't want me to talk about shit anymore. People don't want me to talk about Josh Robinson. People don't want me to criticize this. People coming up to me and saying that I can't say these things. I'm getting messages from people being like, bro, you talked about this. And so people are threatening to cut business ties with me over some stuff that I say. And it's like, and then all of a sudden I realize that people think that I'm this controversial, crazy person for just discussing what I've observed in my years of experience.
It means people are watching your shit, though. So.
Well, that's good. I mean, the good news is, I know, even as I went to the UFC over the weekend, people came to me and talked to me. And
Yeah.
But rarely was it good. You know, people were like, oh, so I checked your podcast, and, you know, they're nice to me. They're like, oh, good work. But here's what I think about what you said. And then it's usually like, I need to stop talking about something. I need to do whatever. I've been told I need to apologize. I need to make retractments. I've been told I shouldn't discuss this stuff because it hurts the business at large.
What's the biggest one? The biggest issue?
I mean, I don't think any of them have been crazy. My personal biggest issue that I'm wrestling with now is the thing I talked about originally at the front of the podcast, which is making sure that people that listen to the podcast know that my beliefs are not associated or necessarily in alignment with my company's beliefs.
Okay.
Because,
That's a big thing, man.
Yeah, it's a big thing. But I feel like that should be obvious, right? Like, I feel like adults that watch this, there should be a level of nuance attached to their thinking.
Yeah.
Like, if I come in here and I make a joke about beating up my wife or my kids that I teach martial arts to, I have a hashtag called Wife Beating Chronicles.
Yeah, I saw
I mean,
that.
Jesus Christ, I'm not a wife beater. I literally punch and kick my wife because she's an instructor.
Yeah.
And that's part of our training.
Sparring, yeah.
I never hurt her. Like, if I do, it's an accident. Like, I would never fucking lay a hand on her, right? I love her to death. Same thing with the kids. I make a joke about beating them up. Like, bring me your kids. I'll beat them up. I'll teach them some discipline. You know, I'm just talking shit. And then same thing with Josh Robinson, right? Like, that guy was a fucking pedo. And then I hear people talk about, like, ooh, it hurts the business and people are going to be scared to train.
That trips me out.
And all of this kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, maybe, but he's a fucking predator. And I don't give a shit. Like, and again, my beliefs, my personal beliefs and things I talk about this on my podcast aren't necessarily things that my other business partners will even agree with. I might have a differentiating opinion with them.
So people think you are Stronghold and Stronghold is you.
It's called Stronghold Podcast.
Yeah.
So part of that is a blessing because it brings attention to my brand. And then part of it's a curse because people think that, well, Stronghold thinks this, Stronghold thinks this. Like, bro, I'm not Stronghold. I'm one aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just one part of this whole thing.
I think it's good though. When I first saw this podcast, I was really excited. I was like, oh fuck, finally someone's doing it. I was gonna do it, man. But yeah, too many things going on. But yeah, it's so good what you're doing.
Well,
keep it up,
I'm happy
man.
to do it. I just don't want people to think that I'm this controversial figure. I mean, to me, it's insane. Because anybody that talks to me for a few, I'm measured, I'm balanced. I'm not the type to fly off. I mean, I take everything as a joke.
Yeah.
Like even this fucking thing that I told you about earlier. Again, without going to specifics, I shared a joke that was at the expense of a gym. Right? It was a gym there's a gym in Singapore, and I shared something that was like kind of a joke that kind of shat on them a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I know these people. I know the coaches there. And then all of a sudden I'm getting messages saying that, like, oh, you can't talk about that. We've worked together. We train together. How can you talk? I would never talk about, like, about Stronghold or Jiu-Jitsu Brotherhood or GF Team in the way that you talked about us. And I'm like, bro, I didn't even say anything. I just shared something that I thought was funny.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden it's, like, affecting my business. And they're saying that they're not going to let their students come train here anymore and all of this stuff. And I'm like, oh, my God, like, come on. It was a small criticism at the most. And then all of a sudden they're threatening to tell their students they can't train here, and they're pulling out of collaborations that we were going to do together and all this kind of stuff over a little fucking joke. They just get their feelings hurt so easily.
Yeah. The toughest guys are the most sensitive, you know. That's what I've came to realize.
Yeah.
Because in this sport, like, we put so much of ourselves on the line, you know. Yeah. Hey, what can you say about that, man? It is what it
it's
is.
weird being in the public eye.
Yeah.
There's benefits and there's definitely drawbacks. I don't want to cause my company duress, right? I don't want to cause problems. But at the same time, like, if I post something that's a joke and then all of a sudden people are telling me to make an apology for it and to tear it down and to delete the comment that I made, I'm just not.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it. Neither are you. Like, in this case, right? You came here, you gave your honest opinion.
Yeah.
And if people can't deal with that, then fuck them. Like, honestly, like, unless you're being an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, if I genuinely believe I should apologize for something, and by the way, on this podcast, I have no doubt that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to fuck up. I'm going to say something stupid one day as a joke, and then I'm going to wish I hadn't said it, and then I will make an apology for it if I feel that's the case.
Yeah. There's a fine line between saying what you mean, maybe even as a joke, or being a dick. Yeah. So, yeah.
Is there anything, because let's tie this back to you.
Yeah.
Is there anything in regards with this controversy about the UFC gym that you wish you hadn't done? Or anything you wish you hadn't said?
I'm young, right? So I'm still learning a lot of things. I've only started doing SG Jiu-Jitsu Open for a year or so. Maybe I could have been more sensitive with it. But then again, I didn't expect it to blow up. I told the owner the same thing. Like, hey man, it was never meant as an insult to the gym or anything like this. Maybe I could have decided to take the kinder route, you know. It's a bit more, how do you say? It's politically correct. But it is what it is. And I think somebody has to bite the fucking bullet, man. Because it's not like it's the first time it happened and I did it, right?
Yeah, that's one thing I found crazy about this. Everybody blame you, and I'm like, bro, this had been going on before you ever said anything.
Yeah, he's been giving prior warning, not just like a bunch of people. At least 3 people have messaged him, you know. So he's like, yeah, I'll stop it, la 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 la, and he didn't. So fuck him. So yeah. I don't really regret it. So maybe I could elect to be kinder next time. You know, it's never my intention to hurt anybody or like. Yeah, but sometimes you gotta You gotta lay down the hammer, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the
Well,
way
it's
it
that,
is.
it's that personal integrity, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel the same way. If I say something and people take it the wrong way, which in your case I think is what happened, right?
Yeah.
You said something and then you didn't think it was going to be anything, and then all of a sudden it blows up.
I was drinking coffee. I was like, fuck this guy. I just like texted. Yeah. Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's just boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
and blew up.
Yeah. Just look at my phone. Holy shit.
Yeah. And it's been a similar situation for me. And listen, I know that I'm going to say some shit that I shouldn't say.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
And
say
I know
more
I'm going to
shit.
say some stuff. I don't even know. Maybe in this podcast, I don't know what's going to blow
Yeah.
up or what's not going to blow up. And if I feel like I misstepped and I didn't say what I should have, or I said it poorly, then I'll say it. But it's that personal moral line that you have, right? Like there are some things that I say that I don't give a shit if people don't like it.
Yeah.
And then, but if I think I said something wrong, and in your case, if you think you said something wrong, then I believe you would say it.
Yeah.
But if like you're cool with it and your moral integrity you feel is still intact, fuck apologizing to people. Like you can't control how other people perceive things. You can only control how you perceive it.
There's some things not for sale, man. Some things are not for sale.
I like that about you.
Yeah.
I like that you were like, oh, they're gonna say this and they're gonna say this, and you're like, I don't care, man. It's what you feel.
Dude, I could have just went to university, just worked like a corporate job, made some money, but I got into this shit not because of money, man. So I got into this shit so I didn't have to lick anybody's asshole for a living. So fuck it.
Well, you still could for pleasure, for recreation. You could do it for recreation if
I
you're
definitely
interested.
do. Yeah, so some things are not for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with this podcast too. Like, this is a pleasure project.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And, my idea initially was it would kind of be cool to unite the martial arts community. That's why I got Major on. That's why I got my old students on, Ron and Steven. They fought and won.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, spoiler alert, I'm going to have Will Chope on. Fuck
Sweet.
Yeah. Hey, one of the most experienced fighters
He has 100 fights.
in the world. Guy fought, if you don't know Will Chope, look up Will Chope.
Yeah.
He fought Max Holloway in the UFC. He's got hundreds of MMA fights. He's fought Lethwei, boxing, kickboxing,
Yeah, shit.
Muay Thai, MMA, grappling competitions, 100-plus pro fights. This dude's
Cool
fucking
guy.
legit.
Cool guy.
Legit. We
Jeremy
fought,
Horn of Asia.
yeah. We fought on the same card at SFC, the same card you fought on.
I fought on the same card too.
Yeah, so you and I both
Yeah.
fought. Fun little fact for the listeners. You and I fought on the same card. You fought amateur.
It's my
I
last
fought
fight.
pro. Will fought after me. So we all three of us fought on the same card together. So this guy's fucking good. I feel like he will really have some insights.
Yeah.
And,
Looking forward to that.
Even one of the coaches at the UFC gym, he talked to me last night, and we were pretty cool. And he said he wanted to come on the podcast, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Like I don't care. I'll talk to
come
anybody.
over. Yeah.
I'm cool to sit down and talk with anybody. And then I already know who a few of my next upcoming guests are going to be. I'll tell you
Sweet.
next week after that. No, I won't say the one after that, but I have the next one after that planned. And then after that, so somewhat flexible. But I wanted to just be a cool outlet for people who are in the community to just come and chat. But I'm going to say some shit that everybody doesn't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And, I hope that doesn't.
There needs to be something like this though, especially in Asia, where like there's a huge market, right? But people are so generally, all right, love you my Asians, more conservative, so they're not willing to go against the grain. So especially in Singapore, I've
I
realized.
think that's why this podcast rubs people the wrong way sometimes.
Yeah, but it's all love, man. It's all
Because
love.
we
Can
say,
talk about it.
I'm not PC.
Yeah.
I'm not PC. I swear, and I've even heard one criticism that really annoyed me, which was, one of my kids got caught listening to my podcast.
Oh.
And, I swear and I drink and all that kind of stuff. And I'm worried in the future that some parents, if they catch a glimpse of this, might not want their kids to train with me because they hear how I talk.
Maybe you should put like an M18 thing.
Oh, it is. It's marked explicit on YouTube already.
Yeah,
So I mark it as explicit.
good.
And I don't advertise it, but sometimes I'll be like editing the clips or tagging shit, and then and the word just gets around, and then my kids will be like, "Oh, you have a YouTube channel."
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, "Fuck!" Like, here we go. It's gonna be a problem.
Talked about this before the podcast, but there are way worse things your kid can find on the internet
know,
than two dudes drinking beers and swearing.
But I just worry. But listen, when I'm with the kids, I don't swear. I'm not.
Yeah.
This is you and me talking, and then the cameras are just
in
whatever.
this situation.
Yeah, so I'm not like that, but it's easy to see. It's easy for me to see in some ways how this could harm my business.
Right.
And it makes me a little hesitant, but at the same time, I did this because I want to, so it's kind of like I get it, but it's also kind of like fuck you. So, you know what I mean?
I'm sure it brings a lot to your business as well. Like I wouldn't be here if you didn't have this podcast, right? Most likely.
Well, yeah, I have I have a big announcement coming pretty soon.
Yeah.
This podcast.
Exciting.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything, but within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to have a fucking mind blower to drop on this podcast.
Looking forward to that
bro.
shit. Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. So if you're listening to the Stronghold podcast or you're training at Stronghold, I got a fucking mind blower coming pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Some good business shit.
Yeah, stay tuned, people.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Who are you getting on next? Who are you thinking of getting on?
Will
Who
Chope
would you
is
love
on-
to be on?
Will Chope is on next, and then I'm going to get Dr. Alan Chung. Do you know him?
Yeah.
He's the 1FC doctor.
Mhm.
He's the doctor for the national team. I haven't hammered down a date with him,
Mhm.
but I'm going to get him on soon.
This is going to be exciting.
That's going to be good because one thing I want to really talk to him about is the headbutts, Lethway,
Yeah.
because that's the Asian thing. So I want to talk to him about kind of CTE.
Ask him about concussions. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
thing.
Concussion, specifically head to head, because I feel like that's an area that no one's really
Even
touched
just
on.
generally like CTE and like concussions. That's why I kind of fell out of love with fighting when I realized like, oh fuck, like this shit exists, you know.
But how are you training? Because like my students here, we don't take hard headshots ever. It's just touch.
I
It's
don't like
technique.
sparring, man.
Thai style. It's Thai style sparring here.
Yeah.
You sparred with us, right?
Yeah.
You came here and you did the sparring. It was cool, right?
Yeah, it was cool.
Did anyone like fucking smash you or anything like
Here's
that?
the thing: training for fun and training for a fight are two different things. Like
Yeah.
people who don't fight don't realize that. But training for fight's not fun, man. Unless you're a fucking crazy person. So after I lost that fight, I boxed for a bit. I boxed for a year and a
That's
half.
the worst thing to do.
And yeah, I got more brain trauma there than I did ever in my life. But also, I probably became better at striking or like at boxing than in my life. So it's like a huge trade-off, man.
There's no
So-
free ride for anything that you do that involves you getting
dude.
punched
It
in the
was. This is what boxing sparring is like. Yeah. So big gloves, 14 to 16 ounce mouth guard, headgear if you want to.
head. Fuck the
fight.
headgear. That makes it
and you
worse.
Fight. You fight. It's not like sparring, man. Go. Don't be a pussy. It's not jiu-jitsu, man. What are you, a pussy? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
but
fight, man.
Anyone that says that to you in your training is crazy. Like that's some bitch shit. Like bitch on them. Like that should not be
Dude.
how training is done.
But this
Thai
happens.
style. They play. Oi! Every time you land on a body. Oi! It's fun, right? They're
Yeah.
just touching each other. They're not listen, for the people listening, if you train with a Thai, they're playing with you. They're having fun. If you go in and you throw like a full power punch on them, they're not going to want to train with you anymore.
Yep.
And these guys can have hundreds of fights.
Yep.
They're not pussies. But if you throw a full power shot on them, you're a fucking dick.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're playing, they want to have fun, they're touch because they fight every week.
Yeah.
They're not trying to prove how tough they are. So it's just touch, play, move around. If your techniques, I take the jiu-jitsu philosophy and I extend it to MMA, to Muay Thai. If your techniques don't work when you're relaxed, they're not going to work when you're fucking going ape shit. So if I can't land a quick head kick on you, I'm not going to be able to land one where I'm fucking throwing 100% full power. That's true of a hook and a right cross and whatever.
Yeah.
Like if I can't land it on you clean with control, precision, I'm not going to land it in a fight if I tense up and go full power.
Do you think there's any space for hard sparring?
Yeah, for sure. If you're competing at a high level.
Yeah.
If you're only I think there's an interim point. If you're a beginner, no hard sparring.
I agree.
I agree. I think that you should do slow, steady acclimatization to.
You should do drills, man. You should just do drills to begin with.
But you can
You're
get
the coach.
acclimated to hard sparring.
Mhm.
But if you go hard fast, you'll alienate your training partners.
Yeah.
You build slowly, right? It's like what do you do if somebody has a fear of water? You get them to put their toe in, and then you go home. And the next day they put their fucking ankle in. And then you go home. You don't talk about it. And the next day you come in and they go fucking waist deep or whatever. And then you go home, you wait 2 weeks. And the next time you come in, you go up to your chest, and then maybe now they're having a little fun. They're not so worried about it.
Yeah.
And the next time, and you slowly increase the difficulty. And the last time you go neck deep, maybe they're a little nervous, but then you just go home, right? And then with people watching, you start to try to tread water. And then, if you do that for 6 months, person's going to be swimming.
Yeah.
They're going to be fine.
Mm.
That's what sparring should do. And that's
Yeah,
how it
gotta
should be.
Ease them into it, yeah.
And then if you want to be a fighter, you extrapolate that. Okay, you're going to be hit like you've never been hit before. So here's what we're going to do. When you start, assuming that you've done all the prerequisite training, that you've started here, you get touched a little bit, then you add the intensity a little bit. Now, okay, you have a real fight coming up. We'll never be able to go 100% on you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I go 100% on you, you might get knocked out in the gym.
Yep.
That's unacceptable.
Don't want that shit.
Unacceptable.
Yeah.
If you have more gym wars, then you're not going to be fit to fight.
Yeah.
You just have to, people have to accept that there's a level of intensity that you'll get in the fight that you can never simulate in training.
We used to have gym wars, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one will ever go as hard in you in the gym as they will in the fight.
Mhm.
Unless they're a fucking asshole and you shouldn't be training with that person.
Mhm.
So they take a fight. Let's say you're making your pro debut and you've never done a hard round sparring. Guess what? Even if we do a hard round sparring, that person in the fight is still going to go harder.
Yeah.
It's like jiu-jitsu competition, right?
Yeah. Small gloves, no shin pads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't simulate that. The only way to get fight experience that's real is by fighting.
Yeah.
And then, 20 or 30 fights down the line, you have fight experience. Then you know. But there's a level of unknown that you just have to accept.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate here.
Mm.
I think there is a space and time for hard sparring, but I don't think it should be like beginners at all. It should be like people who know what they're getting into and who are preparing for a fight. So like 2 months out, all right, you're going to spar once a week. It's going to be hard. You're going to pull shots to the head, but we're going to like try to rip your body. You're gonna
body, okay. Body can go hard.
Yeah, we're going to go fast to the head.
To the head, I think you should never go harder than 60%.
Yeah.
That's my belief.
I don't think the long-term damage is worth it because it's not just concussions, it's subconcussive trauma.
Yeah, that's the real. That's what I want to talk to Dr. Alvin about. Yeah. Is that subconcussive trauma?
You get CTE by heading a football.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is. You get CTE by heading a football. Like a soccer ball. Like bang.
And then imagine that if you're boxing, you're dropped, right? You get dropped by a hard
You get
shot
200 punches to the face in a week. It's
and
like
then
a normal
imagine
week.
that, okay, well, you just talked about subconcussive.
Mm-hmm.
What about postconcussive?
Yeah.
What about I drop you with a right hook in a boxing match? You get 10 seconds, shake off your concussion, you're already concussed. Now let's throw more shots on your already concussed brain. How much do you think damage they do
That's
relative
crazy.
to the postconcussive? Or
3
the
people
preconcussive?
died this year boxing in the pro boxing fight. 3 people died this year alone. Yeah.
Now let's talk about Lethway, where they give you 2 to 3 minutes in between,
Okay.
and you can fucking headbutt.
So this is one thing that nobody's talking about Lethway, which I think is crazy. They allow shots to the back of the head.
Yeah.
There's a reason why that's banned. Because back in the day, in old school boxing, it was legal, and people started going blind, and they had like bad brain damage. Okay, I'm not a fucking neuroscientist. Don't quote me on this fucking shit.
That's why we need to get Dr. Allen on.
Yeah,
Because
get that
he can
doctor
actually
on.
speak with some
I'll
authority.
listen to that podcast. So apparently, when people were getting hit in the back of the head, their brains were getting bounced to the front. So
That's a concussion.
yeah, that's a concussion. So they were going blind. People were going blind, man. There's a whole reason why shots to the back of the head is illegal.
And that doesn't
everything.
even include the nerves
Yeah.
that you get by hitting the spine.
Yeah.
I mean, if I hit you in the top part of the spine,
right.
I mean, that's shit that can give you nerve damage. That shit that can,
forever.
that can paralyze your fingers. That can paralyze your body.
Yeah.
It doesn't even, okay, we're talking about brain damage, which is the long-term killer, but that isn't even to say something about nerve damage or paralysis, whether it's temporary or it's permanent, which if you hit the base of the neck, I mean, God, what do we...
There's a reason why some shit is illegal, man. And yeah, nobody's talking about the shots to the back of the head, man, about Lethway. Everybody's
good
just
point.
focusing on the headbutt.
I think you're right. That's a really fair
a big
point.
thing. I think you should ban it. It doesn't bring anything to the sport. What does it bring? It's like...
Brain trauma and CTE and partial paralysis, maybe.
Yeah. I think it's even worse than the 2 minutes revival rule, man.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point.
If I get somebody that, like, and I elbow them to the back of the head, boom, boom, I get fucking killed, man.
Well, the other weird thing about Lethway, too, is, right, they all agree groin strikes are illegal.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed to hit somebody in the balls. Let me ask you, would you rather be hit in the balls or elbowed in the back of the fucking neck?
Yeah, shit.
I mean, one might be more painful, but one will fucking fuck you up. Like,
Yeah.
one may give you serious
You
trauma.
can wake up and forget who you
You
are.
get kicked in the balls, like, you're going to be in pain. Maybe your dick will be sore the next day.
Yeah, I can get...
But, I mean, there's problems, right? Let's just say there's problems with that.
There's big problems with that
Not
shit.
the same.
Yeah.
I would rather be fucking have my dick be paid for the next day than have brain trauma.
Look, when I was 19, I used to be a savage, man. I didn't care if I lived or died. So I needed that validation that it came from fighting, right? So what really scared me was just, like, I saw
Dick
these...
kicks.
Yeah. Brain damage scared the shit out of me, man. I saw these
Yeah.
old boxers, Gerald McKellen, right?
Yeah.
They're not
They
themselves
get
anymore,
punchy.
man.
They get punchy. Can't speak right.
Holy fuck. Fuck that.
The boxing in particular is pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
But you start to see it with MMA fighters now.
Who's the guy that got hit? A Bellator fighter that got hit by a car and killed? Jordan something. So he's like 20-something years old. When they autopsied him, he had CTE.
Well, it's the same thing with the NFL players.
He had only one knockout loss.
It's the years of gym wars. That's why I believe
He's like
in
26 or something like that.
That's why I don't think any of those gym wars are acceptable at
he
all.
has CTE at 26.
I told Major in the last podcast, and I don't know if he disagreed with me or not. We may have just been slightly opposite the spectrum, a little bit, not to full end. But I was like, if one of my students knocked out another student in training, especially if it was intentional, like they're throwing heat,
Yeah.
You know, if like you zig when you should have zag, I throw a head kick and you slip to the same side.
Wham.
That's an accident. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you can't help that. But if like I can see that the ego's coming in and you landed a shot on me, so I'm gonna fucking dig in and I throw a full power shot and knock you out, I'm borderline kicking that person out of the gym
Yeah, I've heard that.
because that's not a safe training partner.
Mhm.
So some people will say that there's, you know, again, if you're in a fight camp, but in a fight camp, I don't think you should be going those headshots. I believe in the conditioning model is more important.
Mhm.
Go to the body, okay. You go hard, you kick the legs, you can go to the liver shot for days, right?
Yeah.
You fuck people up with that, right? You
Fuck
can jab them
liver
up.
shots.
You can control shots to the head, all that kind of stuff. Listen, I don't believe in no contact training either.
Mhm.
I'm not saying you shouldn't have it, and I'm not saying there's not a place for hard training. I think it should be off camp, and I think it should be people to prep them for fights in the future, but I don't think it should be during a fight camp.
Mhm.
Because then maybe I make you punchier than you would be in the fight.
Yeah. Look, we're not saying you should shadow box, but we're saying maybe pull some shots to the head. It's not healthy in the long term, you know. Yeah. Do you think there's long term ramifications to throwing hard body shots?
Not that I've seen.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, you can definitely break a rib.
Yeah.
You can you tear a ligament or something with
Have
the
you
leg
been
kick.
dropped to a shot to the liver?
Oh God, yes.
Fuck that.
It's
man.
awful. I'd way rather be punched in the head.
Yeah, me too.
For sure.
Yeah.
The liver shot or in the solar plex.
Yep.
Those two.
God.
They're both.
damn.
They're opposite. Like if I hit you in the sternum, the solar
Yeah.
plexus right in the middle for the camera, right there. If I hit you in the solar plex right there,
Yeah.
what happens is it stops you from being able to inhale.
Yeah.
So you get this panic, this fight or flight thing where you're like
Yeah. I've
you're
been dropped
trying
by
to
both.
inhale but you can't. The liver shot, if you get that, your whole body just
Seizes up.
and
Yeah.
you can't unlock. So you have this. You know, that's why if you watch it in MMA, people get hit in the liver and then they go down into fetal position and they can't even protect their head because their whole body just locks up.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just
That was my last loss.
liver shot.
That was my only loss, yeah.
Bro.
Like left hook to the body. Oh god.
That's my favorite punch to teach people. I tell them all the time, like, listen, the liver shot, the left hook to the body,
Yeah.
that's the money shot because if
Man.
you land that, you get a huge reaction. Nobody can stop it. It's like a choke.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's like the choke in jiu-jitsu. There are no tough guys when it comes to
Yeah,
liver
you
shots.
can't be
man.
tougher than a liver shot.
Fucking
Look
hell.
at the toughest guys ever. Jeremy Stevens,
Yeah.
knocked out with a liver shot.
Mhm.
Like, listen, you get seized up with that shit. I don't care how tough you are. You're
Yeah.
fucking going down.
Yeah.
Like, especially in MMA and boxing, it's obviously a huge punch too.
Right.
But you'll typically see if I liver shot you, it'll drop you. Maybe by an 8 count, you can get up to your feet.
Yes,
But
in
in
MMA,
with follow-up strikes.
yeah, if you get
don't-
stunned, that's
yeah,
it.
and then 2 or 3 strikes land, and you can't stop it. Boom, the fight's over.
Which I like. I agree. If you, here's the thing about MMA. I agree that you take way less damage than in boxing. I think most of the damage comes in camp though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the meta is just that if you get stunned, like that's it. The fight is done. You're just gonna get hit a few more times. Boom.
Couple follow-up strikes, or
Yeah.
maybe a submission.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is even
Look at all the
safer.
Diaz brother fights. They stun people like McGregor, right? And they choke them. That's it.
Yeah.
Done. Most of the damage comes from sparring though.
Yeah, I would agree with you, which is why I'm such a hard proponent on technical sparring.
Right.
If your technique doesn't work with you relaxing and pulling it, it's not going to work if you go ape shit. It's just
Mhm.
not. There's something to be said about power in fights, particularly at the heavyweight divisions.
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer that if you want to fight, the only thing that's going to simulate a fight is a fight. You want to get experience fighting, you want to know what that's like, go through the amateurs.
Mhm.
You can have countless amateur fights. It doesn't go on your record. When you step foot in the pros, then you will have had all that experience. You will know what it's like to have somebody go 100% at you. Training is not what that's for, because your training partners will hurt you. You hurt each other. It will make you gun shy, or the subconcussive, all of the accumulation, the training, the wars in the gym. That all will take away from your performance on the night.
Yeah, most of my injuries just came from training in the gym, you know. And I would like to make the argument that just sparring with like huge gloves and shin pads doesn't really simulate a fight, man.
Yeah.
It's not really the same.
Gives you a false sense of security.
Yeah, it gives you some. Mostly, it just boils down to cardio and like just blocking like this and swinging, you know. Yeah.
I talk about it to my students all the time about kicking,
Mhm.
because they wear the shin pads, and so they'll kick the hip, they'll kick the
Yo.
knee, they'll kick the elbow,
yeah.
and they'll just spam that shit. And I'm
I
like,
fucking hate
here,
shin pads.
Listen here, if you throw that kick without a shin pad and you keep kicking toward the knee, or you keep kicking the hip, or you keep kicking the elbow, if you do that, you're going to break your foot and you're done.
Do you think amateur MMA fights should be with shin pads?
I don't disapprove of the shin pad as a training tool, because I don't want people to get their legs fucked up.
I like training with shin pads, but I don't like fighting with shin pads. I don't agree with that because you can cheat with shin pads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you throw full power when
You
you
can throw
couldn't.
full power shots to the shin, just to like your opponent's shin, just to trip them up. Wham! Score points. That's bullshit,
But then
man.
you don't want to see a shin break in an amateur fight. Like, you're not getting paid for that. You don't want to see someone's fucking leg
That's
noodle
true,
over
but I haven't actually seen somebody break their shin in an amateur fight with
because
or
they
without
wear
shin
shin
pads.
pads.
I've seen a lot of most of my amateur fights without shin pads.
Really?
Yeah.
There's some. There's some
Yeah.
for sure. I do both because I teach. In sparring, we wear the shin pads, but I also do drills without.
Yeah.
Because for me, accuracy and timing is more important with kicking. Because if I kick you, that's why stepping out is so important, right? If I kick you square, like if I'm standing right in front of you, like we are now, and I throw any kick towards you, it's going to go to the danger zone, your elbow, your hip, or your knee.
Yeah.
As soon as I step off, now it's going to wrap your belly. Because even if your elbows are in, I'm going to hit the front side of your body. So you step off
gonna
when you
dig in.
kick, which is why I have them train like 10 kicks to the body without the shin pads, step out. So that way they can see, like, oh, and then sometimes we do the tech sparring without the shin pads. Because then you can go 10%, you kick an elbow one time, you're not going to fucking kick the elbow anymore.
Yeah.
But until you felt it, you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man.
It even hurts to, this is another one, it hurts to kick people in the head. If you've kicked somebody in the head without a shin pad in a fight, it will fuck your foot up.
Yeah.
It's extremely painful. Even the elbows. In my pro debut, I spent most of the fight on top in the closed guard throwing elbows. I had a fucking knot on my elbow that looked like an alien. Dude,
I almost broke my hand in my second fight
just by punching.
just by punching, and I was wrapped up, professionally wrapped up, and a glove on top, 6-ounce glove. Almost broke my fucking hand, man.
Yeah, that was when I learned in my fight was that elbows are not meant to be blunt force. They're meant to slice. Because I was hitting with that part of my elbow, not this sharp part, but like almost the forearm, and I was hitting the top of the skull.
Yeah, don't hit the top of the skull.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
like, and then I woke up and it looked like my elbow was giving birth to another elbow. You know?
Yeah. Oh,
And then I realized that you got to aim for the soft parts. You got to aim for the chin, the nose, the eyes, the mouth, and then you have to slice with it. Because if you go blunt force like forearm, you break your forearm.
Yeah.
Or spinning back fist, if you hit the forearm, you will shatter your shit.
Somebody broke their forearm in the UFC fight.
Paige Van Zandt broke her.
Paige Van Zandt broke a forearm, right?
Throwing spinning back
Yeah.
fist. Same
Yeah.
thing.
She continued fighting, man. Paige is badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. We got to wrap this shit up because I got to pee.
Yeah, I gotta pee
Again.
too.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We're in agreement. All right, everybody.
Ooh.
This is Stronghold Podcast, episode 9.
9.
Alvin Ong. The controversy is settled. We can let this shit go. I'm going to try not to talk about it so much. Thanks
Me
for coming
too.
on, man. Give everybody your shit.
Thank you, man. Hey, man. Alvin Ong. Yeah, so SGBJJ Open 4 November 16th. So drop by, guys. It's going to be fun. Double-storied hall, air conditioning. And
Oh,
yeah,
thank God. Air conditioning.
air conditioning. Yeah, that's the big one. That's why we pay rent. So, yeah, drop by, guys. Follow me and Luke on Instagram.
Okay.
At
And Stronghold
Lucas Leisure,
Podcast.
At Stronghold Podcast.
We just
yeah.
released we just did this Facebook and this Instagram and shit. So, guys, if you're following me and you like the podcast, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. If you like it, please, God, share it. It's simple. It's just a click.
Yeah.
Do me a solid. Share that shit. We're gone. Thank you, as always. Stronghold Podcast, episode 9 in the
Peace,
books.
guys.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Thanks, Luke.
Dude.